All right, how we doing, everybody? Welcome to another session of D&D Tyranny of Dragons here on Forgebreaker. Thank you so much for being here. By the way, if your state is still voting and you haven't voted yet, make sure you get out and do so. That's more important than watching stream. That's more important than anything else you're going to probably do today. So go out, vote, make sure you get your voice heard. It's very important. Now that we've taken care of that, let's get on with the rest of the show. Let's see, what do we got coming up here? We have Giants tomorrow, so we have a new group of adventurers tomorrow, which will be very exciting and fun and a little terrifying for me because it's like starting an entirely new campaign again. So I kind of have to throw my notes away and start all over. Be fun to see how it goes, though. I'm sure everybody's going to be pretty laid back about it, and it's going to be a really good time. So as always, the most fun you're going to have on a Wednesday will return this week. Then Fate's Game Night. With that, however, I may stream Fallout 76 from like 4 to 8, whatever that window is. I'm not sure. I kind of want to just, it's the last day of beta. I kind of want to just enjoy it and have fun and do my own thing with it. And maybe that's what I do. I haven't really fully decided yet, but you know, if I stream, then fantastic. That's why it's not on the schedule, because I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not. But Fate's Game Night, 10:30 tomorrow night. He continues Red Dead Redemption 2. He's super excited about it. Seems to be really into it. So that should be pretty fun. Friday, D&D replay, 8:30 in the morning. And then Friday night, Sealing Dragons returns at 9 p.m. We are on session 3. We're playing the Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign. It has been a lot of fun. Some very fun and interesting characters in that game. Make sure you tune in for that as well. Entropy returns Sunday, which I'm looking a bit forward to. We're starting to make our way over towards Firefinger. We got there last session, and there's a lot to do here. So excited for that as well. And then the official launch day of Fallout 76, Wednesday, November 14th, which is next Wednesday. I'm going to be probably streaming that from beginning to end. They said they're going to carry over progress from beta. I don't know that I want to. I may just delete the characters, start all over again. I'm completely okay with that. So that might be what we end up doing. Start over, stream help me build my solo character, and we'll go from there. I think that's pretty much everything, though. So we're gonna check and see what's going on. You guys ready?
Jesus.
Yeah. You guys ready?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's good. All right, cool.
We're here. We just haven't heard Havoc.
I'm here. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Stop eating and entertain me.
Listen.
I always listen in to see what the conversations are before I press the button, so don't worry. I heard everything. Everything.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, so with us, originally going to be skipping this week, I was like, I won't prep for this on Sunday or anything, and wasn't entirely sure up until yesterday, so I've done several days worth of prep that I would have needed normally today.
It's fine.
So I'm going through and finishing up a couple more and then I'll be good.
I mean, half this episode is going to be a shopping adventure, right?
I mean, I don't know.
Gonna need a montage.
Montage.
All right. But we'll go ahead and do prep. And then as y'all are deciding what you want to do afterwards, or not prep, recap rather, I'll work on some other stuff. So, get me a drink of water. Okay. So, last session, a few weeks or a couple weeks ago, you found yourselves in the presence of Arauthator, the Old White Death. The being that was to be the culmination of your journey to the Sea of Moving Ice. Like any good adventurers, you decided to fight him. Arauthator was formidable. None of your attacks seemed to so much as graze him. He seemed to control the very iceberg all around you, causing stalactites to fall all around you from the ceiling of this chamber as he roared around you. Even with this, you charged forward, attacking this huge dragon with ferocity. The tales you had been told of Arauthator's ability to cast magic proved true. He was able to sling offensive magic at you, as well as defensive spells to stop your attempts to cast magic on him. His frosty breath attacks were ferocious, doing massive damage to anyone who dared to stand in front of him. Even with all of this against you, you fought on. Several large attacks coming from Magnolia using her powerful smites, and Stone Skull's relentless attacks, you finally started to seem to be doing some damage to this very powerful dragon. When the tide was finally turning in your favor, however, a mighty roar from Arauthator stunned most of you near him, causing you to be unable to move. With the final attack at Ignalia that caused Ignalia to burst with new life and radiant fire energy all around her, Arauthator decided at that point to swear that you would see him again and give you the acknowledgement that you were formidable. But then he proceeded to slink into one of the watery pools on the floor of this chamber, disappearing from sight and escaping. Beaten and bruised, but alive, you waited for the inevitable attack of revenge from Arauthator, but it never came. You seem to have actually repelled the beast. With that, you searched the cavern and found several interesting items, as well as the usual hoard of coin you've come to expect with dragons. You then moved to exit the chamber, all with the realization that this was far too easy. Arauthator should have put up more of a fight, but you counted your blessings and continued on. After a brief visit back with the Ice Toads and some collecting of some of the works that they had been hoarding and working on over the years, you decided to head back to the surface and meet with the Ice Hunters once again. As you walked up the staircase, you began to hear the shouts and cries of people above. Fearing the worst, you rushed up the stairs, and from the large meeting hall you exited into. As you rushed into the village, you saw that the cries and shouts weren't that of a dragon attack, but of celebration. The Ice Hunters were celebrating. They began thanking and congratulating you for defeating the Old White Death and running him away. You found that the hunters had seen the Old White Death fleeing, bloodied and battle-scarred from Oyaviggaton. While they were celebrating, you saw that they were already preparing to leave the iceberg. Their plan was to take what they could and disappear into the Sea of Moving Ice. They felt that while the dragon was not dead, he would not seek them out when the ones who repelled him would be a much higher priority, unfortunately, for yourselves. With the celebration dying down, you decided to return to Frostskimmer and head back to Waterdeep. Once again, as you've sailed back, it's been a quiet journey. You're able to sit down and rest and tell the obviously very fascinating crew of your adventures up to this point and what happened at Oyaviggaton while you were there and away from the boat. But with this very fast ship skimming along the coast and heading back down, it only takes you a little over a week to arrive back to familiar shores as you see the city of Waterdeep in all of its splendor coming into view over the horizon. Another couple hours have passed since you saw it, and you find yourselves now at the docks, the boat being tied down and the ramp being lowered. With that, forget the dude's name. As you're all gathering your things and preparing to set off, Larista meets you once again, gives you one final congratulations and a simple nod to you. It's not necessarily bashful, but obviously respects your presence a little bit more than when you initially met him. But with that, he bids you farewell, and that if you need his services again, next time it might cost you some coin, but he'd be willing to work with you again. And with that, you find yourself presented with Waterdeep once again. What do you want to do?
Waterdeep. Should we head back to the? This is where I. You know what? No, I'm not taking the ring. I don't remember. The last time I was here, I appeared as a dragon and destroyed part of the market. So I'm just gonna kind of take you guys' lead on what you were doing before.
Well, I mean, going off that logic, you don't want to, hear anything from me about summoning things in crowded marketplaces.
Gucci bag.
Gucci Mane.
I suggest, so let's head back. Let's keep a low profile and get back to the castle grounds. I think we need to kind of discuss and figure out what it is we're going to do next. Maccath is still with us, right?
Yes, and as you're all exiting, discussing what you want to do, you see Maccath moving off as well, her kind of looking around the city, and not a little bit of awe on her face as she looks around. But with that, she looks at you and says, well, I do not know what your plans are going forward, but I feel, and she kind of hefts the very large bag that Mr. Pebbles had been carrying up to this point. She's taking it for herself. And she says, I feel the need to return back to the Brotherhood and let them know what has happened and what has transpired. And she kind of nods back to the bag. Start working on this information that we were able to obtain. And with that, she sets the bag and she walks over to each of you, kind of shaking her hands and nodding to you as a farewell. She says, once again, thank you, my friends, for saving me from my captivity with that menace. And I think during your travel, you kind of told her the situation, what had been going on with the cult and the attacks along the Sword Coast and such. As I think I will bring the plight facing our land to the leaders at the Arcane Brotherhood and see if we would be able to be an ally in this fight. I think with the introduction of all of this precious lore that we've been able to gather, it will make a strong bargaining point for us in that regard.
A firm shake of her hand too, and appreciate having you. We hope that. Let's see, what's the best way to put it? Basically, want to say, if you come across any information about the Drakhorn or anything that you think might be able to help us, I would hope that you would reach out and help in any way that you can.
And with that, she nods to you, Max, and says, of course, anything I learn, we do have tomes upon tomes and libraries upon libraries of information back at the Luskan Tower. We'll be able to provide insight, I think, or I hope at the very least, into what's happening here. And with your leaders being cooperative in that fashion, I think we'll be able to work together.
I hope so.
How do you plan on getting back?
With that, she kind of hoists, and you see that she has a large pouch on her side. She kind of taps it, and it jingles with money. She says, I think I would be able to acquire either a teleportation circle or, if need be, a way to travel there on wagon. It would take some time to go that way, but I know that there are some circles here in Waterdeep that are typically reserved, but I think one of the Arcane Brotherhood would be able to seek passage from it.
So, well then, I guess this is farewell.
And with that, she nods, says, for now. I think with recent events, we'll be seeing each other more than likely sooner rather than later.
Just give her a curt smile and nod. Kind of step back off the dock and let her on her way.
And with that, she smiles and looks at the rest of you, nodding to you all and walking up and patting Tara on the head. She says, "Farewell, my friends. It was an honor and a joy to meet you and go through such experiences with you. I have stories to tell, and as I said before, I think we'll be seeing each other soon." And with that,
Tara crosses her arms and huffs. "Don't pat me."
with a bit of a girlish giggle, she laughs and then sets off, kind of waving to you all as she does so, disappearing into the crowd of the dock ward.
I mean, are we all going to take turns walking past Tara and patting her head? Because I feel like it's the only way.
I don't want to lose my hand today.
Bring your dirty ass. We're going back to the castle.
All right, we're going back to the castle.
Stone Skull's kind of like antsy, standing there like waiting, and he looks over at Max and says, "Can I go get my sword, please?"
let's get it with the like. I imagine Max's expression was like when you hear it, be like, "Yes, that, all of us, you, weapons."
Yeah, weapons.
I kind of imagine Stone Skull's kind of standing there like a kid, like waiting to open a present, like, "Oh my God, can we please hurry up?
Almost like he's got to
do
pee.
this now." Yeah.
The only thing that's scarier than fighting a dragon in its lair is being ambushed by a dragon. We need to make sure we're prepared.
I agree. Let's go get our weapons.
All right, so you're all heading
How long
back.
have we been gone?
About 2
Couple
weeks
weeks,
or so.
yeah.
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
Oh, that's not bad. We can check on the shield too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were told that
10 days.
yeah, 10 days for the weapons. Well, the people that were present for this, we're told 10 days for the weapons. So a good amount of time has been passed since then. So it should be done for the silvering of your weapons, and then the smith Gallon, the elf that had taken on the job of reforging Tyranny, the sentient door, said about 9 days or so. So once again, you should be able to go to either respective location and retrieve your items, presumably.
Stone Skull may not be able to count, but he's been making marks for every day that the sun rises, and he's been asking Tara how many of those marks he has every day. So that's how he knows that the sword's ready.
By asking the blind girl to read his marks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yep.
Fantastic.
Tara knows how to count and knows how many times she slept. So she's just been
blind
answering.
girl has a better concept of time.
All right, so where do y'all want to go first?
Well, you guys pick up my sword for me, please. I'm going for that shield.
Why don't we just stay together?
Yeah, we can
Don't
just
split
go.
the party. Don't split the party.
There's dragons that hate us. Let's go.
Waterdeep.
We'll go get the shield.
Do you remember what happened last time we were here? I think you forget. The giant dragon that flew overhead. Yeah, sure, it was Max, but still.
Exactly, it was Max.
That was a couple weeks ago. They've forgotten about it by now. Speaking of, I think I need to go buy some vegetables from the garden. A lot of
the
them.
vegetable carts are still in ruins.
The cabbages.
My cabbages.
Cabbages. Oh, I'm so happy I got to do that.
Look for the man in the fine silk robe.
Near the brand new cabbage cart.
Oh, yes.
So you all heading over to the trades ward to retrieve your weapons first?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And I wasn't silvering mine. I was getting a brand new.
Right, you were getting a brand new one. So you all start heading across the dock ward. You remember this place? It smells like you would expect it to. Raw fish all around you and such. But you make your way through, going through. It's midday, a little bit past midday actually. You see a few of the taverns and such still have a steady crowd going in and out for a lunch meal and such, or a midday meal. and you make your way through. It's very busy here this time of year, it being kind of later into the summer months at this point. But you continue on, heading up to the trades ward, and you start to make your way back, knowing the streets now a little bit better, up to the large kind of market square that you had gone to before when you had found this kind of smithing corner where a bunch of smiths have set up all kind of in the center of the marketplace over to the side. A lot of different ones, all kind of with their smithies and forges and all that. You see several of the same sites, a few of them that have metal plates as signs with armor, and then you see one with the crossed swords on it. And you see the one that you went to last time, speaking to a dwarf named Erlingel, who had the shape of a dragon of Waterdeep, the equivalent of a gold piece in other places, as his sign. As you all start walking that direction, moving with a purpose to retrieve your weapons, you see that it is extremely busy around oh my gosh, why did I make his name so hard? Erlingel's shop. There are a lot of people around.
You're an NPC. There's a lot of people. Are they like gathered around it?
There, as you're moving closer, you see that you can't even like get up to the forge due to the massive amount of people. There's like a crowd surrounding his forge and such.
Havoc's intentionally trying to keep us from our weapons. This is an ambush.
No, he's intentionally trying to keep us. He's intentionally trying to keep you from your weapons.
I know.
I think we need to make a path.
Where's the bear?
Following along behind you, as per usual.
I'm just gonna make the bear roar.
One good like crack on the ass.
Yeah, just enough to get its attention so that it's loud enough that everybody hears it.
Getting the bear to like snarl or growl or something?
Just like a roar, just a loud roar that kind of shakes the floor, the ground.
Like, speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Make an animal handling check.
Yes. Are you good at these? Wait before I cheer.
Yep.
Yes.
No.
No, not very.
Are you though?
I am. I rolled a 3.
So as you see the bear kind of looking around, staring at all these people and such with a bit of a inquisitive look on its face, it doesn't even pay attention to you as you kind of walk behind it and you just reach back and with a powerful blow slap it on the ass. As you do so, it whirls its head around, snarling, not knowing it was you that did it, raising and baring its fangs and everything. It starts to sit back up on its 2 hind legs, lets out this huge roar. You see the crowd all around you start to scream, moving back away from it as the bear starts to realize itself and lowers back down, kind of looking at you like, what the fuck, bro? But you see that,
but it worked. But it worked.
The crowd around there is all staring at you now.
Sorry.
Excuse us. We need to get through.
It's very important.
I'm gonna just start like walking, like lowering a shoulder, like just not shoving people out of the way. I'm coming through.
I'm gonna kind of bump Ignalia with an elbow and say, "Show him the paper. Show him the paper."
Tara's gonna climb up on Mr. Pebbles' back and just like she's getting a piggyback ride. So I have no idea what is going on, but can we go?
So as this all happens, the bear coming down and people, shying completely away from it, moving, 10, 15 feet away. You have this circle around you of people staring at you as you start to move forward. As you all start walking forward, you see you don't have to move anyone. They all start just moving out of the way as they're all eyeing the bear that's following Stone Skull as you move forward. But as you do so, you make your way into the actual forge area. And you see a few people still standing around this dwarf. And as you look forward, you see the long black beard of Erlingel once again standing at one of his anvils. And on top of it, you see several weapons that look very familiar. And as you start to approach, you all hear him saying, yes, they will be back again. Yes, this very interesting work I have here now. Now, I have plenty of business for the next few months at this rate. Please, go away. There are plenty of other forgers here. Bother them. And as he turns around, just trying to shoo people away, you see nobles and common folk alike all crowded around. But as you all move forward, they all kind of give you the side eye, seeing a bear sauntering in here. But with that, Erlingel turns towards you and says, "Ah, my friends, finally! Please come here and take your weapons."
I'm off to the side, showing the paper to a guard to just kind of like keep him away from the bear.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, he's like a shield, like holding out in front of you, like, no. See, it's fine. Everything's fine.
I'm gonna walk forward, kind of place my hand like planted down on top of the counter and say, "Where is Gleam Edge?"
As you slam your head on the counter, it's like 2 inches away from where Gleam Edge is sitting. As it's sitting on top of the anvil. Erlingel kind of tilts his head at you and looks down at the great sword and then looks back at you. He says, "My boy, it's right there in front of you. Granted, it might look a little different being silvered and all, but I did my work, as I said, with..." He kind of seems a bit confused for a moment, then shakes his head. "With some extra on the side. What with you being heroes of the realm and such, I didn't take it seriously when you showed me that writ before, but I had some visitors a couple of days after you departed, and, well, they had a lot to say about you, especially one man, kind of odd in his nature, but very handsome, very charismatic. He gave me some items to use alongside the forging, offered them to free, said that they were covered, and just a promise that I would use them in the construction. It was very odd, really, but with the help of a few of my thanks for a moment, not comrades, wars anymore, but my associates, ones I have business dealing with that are in the more arcane aspects of life. We were able to finish these just 2 days ago. It took us a little longer, unfortunately, than I originally.
As he continues rambling, Stone Skull's going to reach back and kind of pull Max forward and look over at Max and say, "Did this man do something bad to our weapons?"
Are you just, as I step up, so what exactly did you do to them? Now I'm kind of interposing myself between the weapons and the guy. I haven't met this man before. So.
With that, he looks up at you, Maximilian, tilting his head. He says, "I assume that you're an associate of theirs."
I am. I'll extend a large, muscular, clawed hand to Maximilian.
With that, he nods and reaches up and grips your hand as best he can with his obviously much smaller arms. He only gets like 3 fingers in as he shakes it. But tight grip, guy knows his stuff, seems strong enough to be working this forge. But as he kind of moves forward, shaking your hand, he turns around, and once again, you see that the anvil is actually covered with like this red silk where the weapons have sit on it. This anvil's huge. It's like 4 feet across, so it holds all the weapons easily. With that, he points down to him and says, "Well, if you see, as your friends requested, I have the great sword here, Gleam Edge, as it calls itself, silvered completely in its entirety along the blade. Expert work, I speak highest of quality. I can guarantee that." With that, he looks at the rapier lying next to it that Steve had left here, motioning, telling much of the same. And then finally, he comes up to a longsword, and as he points to the longsword, you see that it's a little bit different to what Ignalia had left here previously. As he motions to it, you see that there is a gold band around the base of the blade that hadn't been there before. He kind of points to it and says, "I'll get back to that in a minute." But yes, silvered once again, as the others are. And then finally, I don't think there was anything else. There was just those 4. Yeah. He moves over to a very somewhat large maul, and the base of it, the top part, it goes up in this kind of iron handle all the way to the top of it, and the base of it is silvered, and then the entire maul itself is made from pure silver. He kind of picks it up, hefting it and such. You see he's almost not quite struggling with it, but it's definitely a little bit heavier than he's used to. He says it was an odd request for it to be made of entirely of silver instead of just forging it around the edge of iron or something of that nature, but we were able to figure it out and managed it quite well, I think.
I didn't
Man,
request
that
that
would
it
be
all
cool.
be made of silver, but that's awesome. Tara's gonna hop down off of Mr. Pebbles and just run over there and grab it.
So as you all look at these weapons, you see Minus or Sans Terra's weapon. There are small oddities about them. You see that Gleam Edge doesn't quite have a serrated edge on it, but it definitely seems to have like a curve along it, and it seems to just be kind of drawn on, but as your eyes kind of focus on it, it seems like the blade curves as well. But then if you stop focusing for a moment, you see just the straight edges of the blade going up to the top. You see with Ignalia's, once again, this gold band around the base of the blade
to Gleam
at the
Edge.
bottom that goes up about 3 inches. You see with Rogar's rapier, it is almost completely silver now, whereas it wasn't before. You see that the crossguard has been refitted into this kind of swirling pattern. It almost looks like the side of a feather coming back towards it, and at the tip of this feather, it kind of wraps around a small blue gem inset into it, and the rest of the feather continues down and wraps in a circular motion down upon the blade itself.
It's pretty slick.
Sir, you said that a charismatic figure came and gave you some of these materials. Can you give us his name, or at least a description?
With that, he thinks. He says it's very odd the way that man presented himself. He was very handsome, strong built, wide chin and such, and obviously, I can only assume an adventurer or a collector of arcane implements, but every time I asked him a question, he would, he clears his throat, he would just say, "Precisely!" It was very strange, really.
Bastard.
Wait, he didn't do anything to my weapon, right?
Do you see why I was concerned?
I do now.
Ask Gleam Edge where he was touched.
I'm going
Where did
to...
he touch you, Gleam Edge? Where did he touch you?
Oh, man. Did he have any help in actual deconstruction of these?
This
Or did he just
bastard.
give you the tools?
What did he do?
Erlingel had told you that he essentially he was given magical artifacts by this stranger, this mysterious man that presented these items and said they specifically had to go on each weapon in a particular fashion. Erlingel had to seek out associates of his that worked with Arcane to help with the construction.
Okay.
So instead of just silvering, which he would have been fine and dandy to take care of himself, he actually had to implement these items into them. So he needed help with it, and it actually took a couple days extra. But since y'all have been gone for, 14 days, just over a 10-day, you were able to arrive still after they were finished.
Do you know what these implements do? Or asking the dwarf.
Hey there, thank you for the 15 bits.
Quite sure on the details. I feel like the man explained it, but for whatever reason, the details are a bit foggy to me. But he said that they would be a help and be a boon, as he put it, to these items.
No, I don't trust this guy.
Get to the turn of the group. Let's collect them. I'll study them. But when we get to, a safer space, we don't necessarily do this out in public, but don't try and use them yet. Not until we know exactly what they do.
Yeah, I'm gonna fasten mine to the back of Mr. Pebbles right now with a belt.
Okay.
I'm Geralting mine. Second sword on the back.
I'm kind of envisioning Stone Skull grabs his second blade and puts it over the other shoulder. So, like, when he would reach for one great sword from one side, this side, the other hilt's coming from the other side now. So he's just kind of wearing both of them at the moment.
Got the scissors.
Yeah, like terrifying as that would be.
You mean the Leonardo Ninja Turtle?
Oh yeah, with great swords.
Except with
great swords. 8 foot tall,
Proportionally still accurate.
8 foot tall Goliath, or almost 9 foot tall Goliath, grabbing onto two great swords. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you start collecting your weapons. And like I said, they're all extremely finely crafted now. Even though it doesn't seem like there's any kind of magical implement into the mace that Terra has now, it's still incredibly well done as far as its craftsmanship.
See, these look to be fine works indeed, Sir Dwarf. We just happen to have a history with the gentleman that provided you the tools for this, and he's not explicitly to be trusted.
With that, Erlingale kind of squints his eyes and kind of tilts his head to the side. He says, "Really? Seems like a fine chap to me, but I never claimed to be a good judge of character. But he gave 3 items in your name.
Obviously.
I assumed he was a friend. I apologize for that, I guess."
Well, he's not necessarily not a friend.
I mean, she's not wrong.
All right. Well, I'm a little bit worried now that he knew about these weapons, and I've got a talking shield out on loan. So, thank you for the fine work, Master Smith, and I'll bid you a good day. And I start sprinting towards Galen's shop.
We already paid him for these, right?
Yeah, we paid in advance.
Okay.
Paid both
I
of them
thought Scott just ran out on the bill.
No, we
Dine
didn't.
and dash, bastards. Dine and dash.
Man, we walked in there and we were like, "Hey, you're gonna work for us," and dropped coin.
Mm-hmm. Does Gleam Edge talk to me, or did it get too hurt by what happened to speak to me now?
Oh, I guess that my whispers aren't going through.
Oh wait, there. I see it. No, it's... Yeah, okay. I'm reading.
All right, so
Yeah, let's,
heading out.
Yes, we may have need. Yeah, talking to the dwarfs, we may have need for you in the coming days. Please be around, and I'll just slide him, another platinum piece into his hand.
As you do so, he takes it and places it back in your hand and closes it. He says, "My friends, I am very busy, but of course I will put everything else on hold for yourselves. What for who you work for and what it is you're doing. But I assure you that between your patrons, as well as others, I am well paid. No monetary compensation is needed. Please, if you need anything, come see me again."
I'll just nod and smile and imagine holding a platinum piece in between my fingers. I walk to the rest of the group. It's funny. The more of these we collect, the less we spend.
That's a good thing, Max. It's fine.
It's just funny.
It is funny, but it's okay. I don't mind not spending gold.
You just like it because it's shiny.
You're right. I love shiny things.
Alright.
Yeah. To following, I guess, Ignalia's dust trail down the street.
All right, so Ignalia, being almost uncharacteristically excited about retrieving this hopeful shield. It was just a door before, but you had employed Galen the elf, that was a forger up in the castle ward, to go through and try to reforge him into a shield. So you make your way out of the trade ward, heading to the northwest. You remember up hereabouts is where you venture to this large market that was up in the castle ward. Not quite as populated with shops and such as it is down in the trades ward. Pretty much this entire ward is all shops of different kinds and things like that. Whereas the castle ward is mostly residential area except for the trade market here. But you make your way forward, and as you do so, you're able to find Galen's shop fairly easily. And as you approach, you see the elf is standing behind a forge. It seems like he's working on what appears to be a long, slender blade, not quite a rapier, but maybe like a smaller sized long sword, judging by the length. And as he's working on it, he glances up as you're all approaching and then looks back down at the blade and then stops his hammer mid-swing and looks back up to you. And he says, "Ah, my friends, you need to hurry, quickly."
Oh, no.
I draw my blade. What?
No.
With that, he walks over, guiding you, waving his hand for you to join him as he walks towards the back of his shop. You see that there's a wooden counter there, and a few implements, some tools and such are laying there, and then you see a large gray sheet laying atop it, covering something. He says, "We don't have much time. Please come.
I hurry over to the
Don't
table.
have much time.
I feel like a surgeon all of a sudden.
Is Irony dying?
With that, he turns to you and he says, I've done everything I can, but process may have taken too much of a toll on your friend here." And with that, he pulls back the gray drape or kind of cloth that was laying over this, and you see a very ornate-looking shield now laying it there, made entirely of this pristine-looking iron. You see, almost looks like clouds are inset back behind this embedded smaller circular shield in the front of it, and then expands outward, and there's holes and such all around it. I'll have a picture for y'all in a little bit. But as you're looking at it, you all hear a voice, and it's very faint, and you say, Ignalia, is that you?
It is Irony. Why are you speaking so strangely?
You've come closer. I can't speak very loudly.
I swear to God.
I timidly reach out and touch the shield.
As you do so, you feel this presence that you felt before when speaking to Irony, and you're able to clearly tell him that he's speaking, but very softly, almost as if he's hurt. And he speaks to you, and he says, "It's so nice to see you again."
I whack him.
Whoa, thank you. As you do so, you see Galen the elf with a big grin on his face, and he kind of shrugs. He says, "He made me do it. He wanted to fool y'all into something, a prank, as it were."
I kind of figured with a personality like his, he might need a way to get that energy out. I think I'll enroll him in singing lessons.
Oh no.
Please don't make me sing.
Oh yeah.
Was that Irony or Havoc?
Yes. So as you say that, you can all hear Irony just giggling to himself, but seems to be right as rain. But once again, you see Irony is now a very ornate-looking shield, and Ignalia, as you touch him, you can feel magic, more so than before, radiating from him. But with that, Galen looks at you and says, "The process was fairly straightforward. There were a few complications, mostly with the nervous giggling and strange sounds coming from Irony as I worked on him. But ultimately, I was able to find the core of the magic, giving him his sentience, as well as some other properties that didn't initially find. I had to actually search through them and identify this being that resided within that door several times to get the full grasp of it. But very interesting piece you found, and it was quite a pleasure actually to work on it. Or work on him, rather."
Well, your skill in your craft is showing quite well. I'm very pleased that you were able to do this for me. Thank you.
And with that, Irony pipes up again. He says, "Yes, Galen has very gentle hands. It's quite nice, actually."
I'm just here, kind of from the back of the crowd, just Max clears throat. So, is the shield talking?
"Oh, who is
Yes.
that behind you? I've not met you before. Are you my friend as well?"
Yes, Max, come over here and say hello to Irony.
I named him.
And kind of, coming up to the crowd, Irony?
"Yes, that's my name. I was named by my other friends here."
So now we've got a shield and a sword with the story, eh?
Would appear so.
And a bear.
Well, I am.
The bear has a story too.
I won't forget about the bear.
That's good,
and
because he
just-
might eat you.
Yeah, seems there are things that bear discussing since I departed last.
"Oh, bear discussing. I see what you did there. That is hilarious."
Hey, does he? Do you always feel so inclined to speak?
Every time.
All the time. It's quite nice, actually.
Well, it'll be a delight having you aboard, I'm sure.
You're
Havoc's
welcome.
hoping we get tired of him.
It's fun to roleplay, so I don't care.
Right?
So as you're all saying that, Galen goes on to tell you, yes, it was a process going through it. Obviously, he has changed quite a bit from his door form that he was in before, but I think that this will suit your needs, especially with his little trick here. And with that, he looks towards the shield and he kind of motions for you to back away, and he raises a finger, and you see a little plume of fire begin to kind of circle around his finger. And with that, he just moves. Galen moves his finger forward, and the bolt of fire flies forward towards the shield, and then curves away from it and hits the desk beside him. He says, "See."
I'm not sure. It might have been a fluke. I used firebolt at Irony.
Okay, make an attack.
Hooray!
Much like the one that Galen sent, it flies straight towards the center of this circle, inlaid and engraved circle on the front of Irony. And you see it, as it's about to hit, it flakes off, almost glancing off something beside the shield, and then hits the desk beside it.
The desk is now on fire. We need to go.
Yeah, imagine going over and like stomping on it. Like, okay, I see it as a resistance to fire.
More like an aversion.
With that, Galen chuckles, says, "Not just fire, my friends. Any kind of magic seems to just not want to work on Irony for some reason."
My jaw drops.
And with that, he kind of holds the shield up, looking at you. Who will be using Irony here? And you hear Irony chuckle with that. Yes, use me.
Oh my god. We've made a mistake. It's time to end this campaign now.
Oh no.
You did this
Come
to
to me,
yourselves.
Irony. You belong on my arm.
So as you strap, you see
Oh my
these
God.
large kind of metal inlaid leather straps on the back, and you kind of tilt it on your arm. It's kind of heavy, not too much for you to handle, but definitely heavy set. And you definitely feel magic, though you can't quite understand it. It feels like you're going to have to spend some time attuning to Irony in his current form.
But of course.
Wait, what is it in 5? You can only attune to one magic item at once?
Up to
Three.
3.
Up to 3 at once.
Okay.
Oh, very good. Well, Sir Galen, I would thank you again for your work, and please, we may come again needing some of your skill, and of course, we'll pay quite handsomely.
With that, Galen nods to you once again, kind of crossing his hands in front of him. He says, "Anytime you have work, please bring it on by. It was interesting, to say the least, to work with your friend here. If you have any other items like that, I would love to learn more about items such as that. It intrigued me."
And afterwards, I kind of lean in and I say, "Strange, charismatic man that likes to speak in a kind of shrill tone didn't stop by, did he?"
With that, he thinks, says, "Not that I recall."
Okay, I'll just keep an eye out.
Very well. Quite strange, but okay.
Yes, he is.
And with that, just because I know that you're going to attune to this, you have
yes.
retrieved Irony, the Spellguard shield.
God damn.
Looks good.
I thought the picture was pretty cool.
Where does he talk from?
Oh, come
Do
on.
you really want to know the answer to that question?
I'm just gonna
I'm
imagine
blind. I
it's
can't-
a
I
little
don't know.
microphone in the middle.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. All right. You've retrieved all of your items that you left here in Waterdeep. some interesting events seem to have taken place while you were gone. What do you want to do now?
Damn, I meant to ask the dwarf why the crowd. I forgot.
He seems to have become very popular since being hired on as our blacksmith. Apparently, news of us has spread enough to make him popular. That's what I took from it.
That's kind of what I thought too, but I didn't ask like explicitly.
Nope.
Who was our contact here in the city? We should at least report in and let people know what happened on our trip to the sea. We still don't have any real information on the Drakhorn.
Well, we know that it was sold.
Right, but
that was
that doesn't bring us any closer
Right.
to finding it.
Yeah, no, I thought the second verse was go to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
All right. So heading towards the Palace of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So once again, everybody familiar with the terrain of the castle ward, you head off to your southwest, heading down here towards the Palace of Waterdeep, where you have been a few times now for the Council of Waterdeep that was here before, as well as the place that you have rooms set aside and such for you to occupy when you're in the city, in between your adventures and all that. And you know that at the very least, some of the members of the council were present, or at least their contacts within it. The one being the one that you talked to recently, being Leos and Erlenthar. So you make your way down. Once again, moving around, you see that the guard presence that you had seen before in your last visit here is still present. It seems like the retinue and such, the security forces, gotten bigger than it was your first trip to Waterdeep. It's about the same as last time, though, but clearly a few of them recognize you as you start approaching, and they wave you through, guiding you back over towards the stables where you had been before.
Before we head inside, I just want to try to identify the guy that we had spoken to last time we were here and heading inside. Probably the captain of the watch.
Yeah, you do see him there as well. He's talking to a few men, but sees you and kind of nods your way until he sees you approaching. With that, he looks at you and says, "Yes, what is it that you're needing?"
Nothing critical of you, but if you could give me the latest news on Ontharr Froome.
With that, he thinks, says, "I believe that." He thinks for a moment. It's like, I believe Ontharr is still to the north in Red Larch, but it's possible he's headed back by now. It's been some time. We haven't heard of any more dragon attacks up north from here.
All right, well, very well. Thank you for that. And I'll give him a quick salute and be on my way.
With that, he nods to you, and you head back towards the stables. I imagine you're not taking the bear inside with you to the palace.
I mean, no.
Okay. I mean, it's going to be a tight fit permission where he goes. So yeah, you leave your bear companion there in the stables. You see that somewhat bashful-looking stable boy still here. He kind of grunts a bit as he sees the bear coming, but he stands back up and just kind of hesitantly motions for it to go into the stable stall. You see that the stables have been rebuilt since their last visit here. You see fresh wood and such.
The workhorse and wagon still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
You see that the three stalls, the two dividing walls that have been destroyed by the bear, have been rebuilt, and you see that they're much thicker now than they were before. It seems like they were expecting your companion to be coming back. But with that, the boy leads him in there, and you set off into the palace itself. Two guards are stationed on either side of the door that you enter to from the stable yard. They look at you as you move forward and salute you. One man speaks out, says, "Will you be returning to your rooms, or do you have somewhere else you would like to go?"
Well, I believe a quick return to our rooms would be in order, but could someone please send for... Oh god, his name just dropped out of my brain.
Leosin.
Thank you. Yeah, Leosin.
With that, he nods and salutes to his chest and says, "It will be done. Please follow my friend here." And he motions the other guard, who opens the door and begins leading the way. You see the man that you were talking to moves over and talks to another guard, presumably to send him to fetch Leosin. And with that, the other guard leads you back through the winding passages of the palace here in Waterdeep, taking you up a few floors and moving you further and further into this maze of passageways through the water or through the palace, until you find yourself in somewhat familiar hallways, and they're only familiar because they're much more lavish than the worked stone ones you had been in before. You see wood paneling and such has been placed in these, and these are the quarters reserved for nobles and very important persons and such, where your rooms are.
They've really set us up, and we were here before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We were.
yeah. Max was too when they first visited for the council.
When we first came back. So it's nice to be back somewhere that's not frozen solid. As I walk in the room, I just meant turning on my heel and looking back at Ignali and saying, I think there's a slight explanation in order.
An explanation?
I saw you get struck down, and yet here you stand after an explosion of flame. What was that?
How about we have a drink later, and I will tell you about it. All I will say for now is that I have had 2 different father figures in my lifetime, and that was more symbolic of one of them.
As long as it doesn't endanger the rest of us.
I can't control it when it's like that. I was glad none of you were close enough, otherwise it might have, done some harm. But no, normally it's within my grasp.
Yeah, it does bear discussion further. But
it does.
Doesn't have to be now.
Just a little bit later. I would just like to sort through my thoughts and have some time, convene, and then we can talk.
Of course.
Very good. And before everyone, kind of chills in their room, I'm going to just kind of go through the bag quickly, and in case they didn't already account for this stuff, making sure Stone Skull has the saddle of the Cavalier.
Yep.
The drift globe, I think, Willie, I think that was going to you.
No, I can fly. I don't know.
It floats and spreads light, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, sorry, I made the same mistake before because I thought it was something different. Yeah, no, I do. I've got that in the Wand of Wonder.
Okay, you're taking the Wand of Wonder. And then I'll head over to Tara, and I'm going to, tap her on the shoulder, just extend out her palm face up, and I'm going to take off the Belt of Giant Strength and put that into her hand.
I'm going to clutch it. What's this?
This is a belt that we received a little while ago. I think you should try it on. It looks like it might fit you pretty well.
Does this require attunement?
Yes.
I'm going to take my ring of poison resistance off and hand it to Steve.
Yay, hand-me-downs.
Yay.
And, before we forget, at some point we should head into the market and, well, fetch a price for however many of those fine pieces we found. At least the ones that we don't want to leave decorating Mr. Pebbles.
What does the giant strength belt add?
Your strength goes to 21.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm going to have to go write down what my strength was so that I don't forget it.
Let's see. Belts. Do I have that? The hill giant strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Edit. This is gonna be in Terra. Zorn, I'll let you edit it. You can put that in there if you wanted to. There you go. You got that. All right. What else do we have that required? Drift glow. Do I have that? I do. Hey.
Hey.
Edit.
Did our main weapons require attunement?
You don't know yet. You haven't sat down and inspected them quite yet.
Well, mine wasn't my main weapon, though.
I mean, Gleam Edge wasn't before, but that's why I'm curious.
Yeah, so, I mean, we can set them out and I'll go about identifying them.
This is going to Rogar. Yeah. Okay, so y'all are gonna take some time to rest before Leosin shows up and such.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm gonna identify these weapons.
Okay.
I'm going to assist Max in whatever way he needs.
Okay. So we'll say that you start hanging around items and such. So you go to your respective rooms for a little bit to store stuff and reorder your things and prepare your rooms for yourself, since you're not sure how long you'll be staying here. And some stuff happens when this occurs. Max, when you go into your room, you're setting aside these different items and such, kind of looking over them, kind of thinking about what it is these items that you're set to identify could do exactly. But then you feel a burning sensation going across your hip. And as you're trying to look down, kind of alarmed at it, not really hurting you as much since you have resistance to fire, but you see that the pocket, this pouch that you had put that tome into, that you had found on your, what is going on with D&D bot?
I don't know.
I know, we need to figure shit out real quick.
There we go. You see that the tome is glowing bright red to the point where you see light emanating from this pouch.
Yeah, I reach in and grab the tome and pull it out, kind of looking for, I'm imagining it's warm to the touch too, like somewhere to set it down.
As you do so, as you grab hold of the tome and your scales make contact with it, you feel fire going through your hand and then your arm, and then it spreads slowly through your entire body. You find as you start to move to set the book down, your entire body freezes as you feel the searing heat going through your entire body. You drop to your knees with the force of it. It's tearing you apart. You feel like everything inside of you is ablaze at the moment, completely bypassing your scales from the outside. You fall forward, and as you do so, you drop the tome in front of you. It opens itself up as it does so, and you see the passage, the verse that you saw before, the joy of flight. But below it, you see where the verse 2, nothing was written below it. Now there is. And you see the words appearing almost as if caught by firelight as they engrave across. You see the words, fire, in its own way, is a tool of creation. Yes, it does destroy. It destroys all before it. But with the destruction of everything it consumes, new life follows afterwards. From the ashes, things are reborn. From the ashes, new opportunities arise. From the ashes, one can start fresh. I have been consumed by fire. Dragon fire. His fire. He tried to warn me. He tried to lead me from the path I had chosen. I did not listen. Arrogance is my sin, and fire is this fool's punishment. As you squint through tired eyes, still searing with this fire burning within you, it starts to subside. You start to look down and you see that the fire subsides, but then starts to burn deep in your chest and then moves up your throat to your mouth. You open your mouth as a reaction and you see this brilliant fire blooming out and then hovering in a ball in front of you, not engulfing things in front of you like it does normally. You see that the fire is different. It's bright, almost white in its coloration now. It almost blinds you with the brilliance of it. And then, just as suddenly as this event occurred, the fire vanished. And you find yourself alone in your room, on your hands and knees, staring at your tome.
Holy shit. Just stand up and kind of, take a deep breath. Trying to, gauge what's, different now. If everything's okay.
As you do so, you find that you don't feel completely different. But as you start to think about... Oops, what did I do? Undo. There we go. You start to piece together what just happened, and in a somewhat fitful test, you turn to the large side of this room. These rooms are all huge, 30 feet across, 20 feet wide, mostly empty in the center for moving around and such, or gathering, a gathering chamber. And with that, you lean your head back and you produce flame from your breath, as you do. I've done, countless times before. As you do so, you see the flames are brilliantly white. Even with your eyes concentrated on it, you have to squint to see through it because it almost blinds you with their radiance. Mechanically, you have learned the feat Blinding Fire. This modifies your breath attack. So basically, when you cast your breath attack going forward, not only will a dex save have to happen, the dex save will still have to happen, but if they fail, they not only take full damage, they are also blinded by the fire till the end of their next turn. Your breath weapon now also seems to come back to you much more quickly than it did before. Much like an actual dragon's breath weapon, yours will now return on a roll of 5 or 6 on the beginning of your turn.
Ooh. That is awesome.
Ooh.
Legendary attack.
Brave mode engaged.
Legendary attack,
Moving
boys.
Alright, your tome has been updated. Let's see.
Wait. Yes, that's so awesome. That's cool.
Good, I'm glad you like it. Stone Skull. As you're sitting in your room, you kind of sit down on your large bed and kind of move yourself on it, kind of bouncing with the softness of it. And imagine you're not used to this. You go ahead and stand up and you decide to sit on the hard floor, feeling a little bit more comfortable in that. And as you do so, you pull Gleam Edge out from its scabbard. And you see that its appearance changed. It's now silver. It still has this kind of wavy complexion going all the way down the blade that seems to carve into the blade when you focus on it too much, but then as you divert your focus even for a moment, it resumes its whole state. As you're looking at it, you hear that voice again. I said that we had to talk. I suppose now's as good a time as any. You see, what that dwarf, the fool, thought he was doing was reforging me. The silver, he did accomplish that quite well. I'm now imbued with silver across and could handle things more aptly that way. But everything else, that was in me before. Now, you still can't quite harness me. In my full potential, your body isn't strong enough. I would rip you apart, and I like you, Stone Skull. I don't want to kill you. But, that being said, I think that you'll be able to use me more effectively now. I think we'll be able to take down our enemies in a fashion more suitable to your tastes in combat. And that he describes himself now in a way that you're able to understand mechanically. So, Gleam Edge is now a +2 greatsword.
Hmm.
Gleam Edge also has a new ability called Rend. Gleam Edge grants you extra force behind your attacks. When you hit with 2 weapon attacks in one turn, you can roll your damage dice a second time on the second attack. You can only do this once per round.
Holy shit, so it's like hitting 3 times.
Or
Okay.
getting an auto crit on the second attack, as long as you hit 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Alright. Stone Skull kind of nods in approval. Kind of not really sure what to say. Just kind of looks over the sword and just smiles a bit and says, I'll be sure to use this to bring down our foes and bring an end to this menace that is plaguing our world. And he kind of grins and kind of touches the edge of the sword, like the sharp edge of the sword, trying to like get a feel for, because you said it's shaped a little bit different, and he's like trying to just get a feel for the shape of the sword itself now.
And as you do so, you see that, quite clearly it seems to be worked into the metal, these kind of wavy marks that go all the way up the blade. But as you kind of run your hands across it, you see the blade itself actually waves in and out, thus giving it this property where it's able to do more damage with a single slash.
Nice.
And I'll work on I don't have your handout from last
that's fine.
other game, so I'll get you a new handout for that. Ah, let's see. Ignalia. You find yourself in your quarters, and they're very lavish. Definitely a far cry from the paladin camps that you found yourself in earlier years when you were working with the Order of the Gauntlet. But you enjoy the accommodations one way or another. You look at this strange weapon that isn't quite the same as what you had before. It's been changed, almost fundamentally so. You're not quite sure why until you hold it and you begin to examine it more properly. You see that it still carries the property of being able to let you cast your magic more flexibly. But then you're able to tell that it seems like that property of it has expanded even further. Your eyes are drawn down the silver length of the blade down to this gold band wrapped around it at the base. As your fingers touch it, you feel magic radiating from this gold band. And you start to recognize what's been inlaid into your weapon. You're able to discover that this gold band was probably stretched and reformed from a ring that was put onto this. And you know that that ring and now this gold band have the ability to store spells within it. Mechanically, your Sword of Burning Devotion not only has the ability to, once per day, give you 1d4 sorcery points, but it also now functions as a ring of spell storing. One that you can put up to 5 levels of spells into at any given time.
Hot damn.
Oh, and it's +2 now.
Hot damn.
That Elder Dragon's coming back, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Quick question: is the +2 to the spell attack, or just the basic longs?
It's the same as before, so your spell attacks, it's working as your focus once again.
Okay,
Basically,
awesome.
the lore of this sword, the way that I've envisioned it while creating it, is that you are channeling your fire and radiant energy into it,
Okay.
and that is what's ultimately making it strong. And due to that, that's with these additions and everything, you're able to channel more energy into it. It's basically just a huge conduit for your. That's why you're able to smite through it so easily, as well as regain magic that you've stored into it back into yourself. But now, do it even better, as it can now store spells in their full capacity. And I'll need to do a handout for yours as well.
All right. You said 5 slot levels?
5 slot levels, yes. So you could put
Perfect.
1 5th level slot or 2 second level slots in a first level slot or first level spell. Any combination to get you up to 5.
Excellent. I like my gift, Daddy.
I'm glad you do. Rogar.
Yes.
Yes. As you were leaving earlier, you didn't really mention it because it seemed kind of odd, but Erlingel came up to talk to you as you were getting ready to leave, and he kind of pointed down to the rapier he had given back to you. This very silver, pristine. It looks somewhat delicate now, but as you kind of held it, you were able to tell that it's still very strong, still very good at implementing damage. And Erlingel told you just one bit of information about it. He said, "This is something I've made myself and had some work into it. I'm very proud of it. I call it the Gentleman." And as you examine the Gentleman, looking at it and seeing this pristine silver blade down it, you feel definite magic still radiating from it, this warning presence coming off of it to let you know if anybody hostile would be around you. Even now, you feel the censoring effect of it radiating around you, checking the environment for anybody hostile towards you, though nothing seems to be at the moment. But you also see there's a gleam to it, but not something that you'd expect to see in this silver. It almost just seems to be tainted a bit with this black that gleams off of it ever so slightly when you lean it just in the right light. And as you sit down for a while, reattuning, acquainting yourself with this weapon, you feel that somehow this thing has been made for you. Not just for someone with, your abilities, being a rogue and such, but something made for you as one that sought vengeance in the swiftest course possible. Mechanically, let me make sure I've got the name of this thing right. Your sword now functions as a 9 lives stealer.
Holy hell.
The rapier has 9 charges. These charges will never come back. You have 9 uses of this effect. If you score a critical hit against a creature that has fewer than 100 hit points, it must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or be slain instantly as the sword tears its life force from its body. Every time you slay a creature with this property, it loses 1 charge. When the rapier has no charges remaining, when the 9th one has been used, it loses this property. So everybody can appreciate it. There you go.
That's purty.
Neat.
So does he control him, or is it just every time you crit?
He controls it. He can choose to
Okay.
use the ability or not.
He's going to try it on the first dragon we run into.
No, probably.
Just wait till we beat it up a bunch.
Tara,
Neat.
as you're walking into your room, you kind of feel along this mace and such. You can tell it's very finely crafted. It's essentially a +1 silver or maul, whichever weapon I can't remember settled on. Definitely well made. definitely will be good at what you dish out whenever you get into melee combat. And as you're examining it, you hear something. You hear what sounds like earth cracking. A very distinctive sound. You know, broken boulders and such in combat as well as in mundane life before, and this sounds like it. As you listen, you're able to tell that the sound is coming from your hip pocket, where you've stored this stone golem that you found back in Skyreach Castle. As you reach into your pocket and pull it out, you see the stone golem is brittle, and even as you touch it, some of the stone and dirt makings of it fall apart. You start to feel it, and you feel that it's not breaking apart. It almost seems to be melding itself as you break off the outer shell. And as you run your hands on it, you see that, or you're able to feel rather, that the back of this stone golem has enlarged itself. And even in your hands as you're touching it, you feel spikes on the back of it kind of growing out of its back. You feel the entire thing enlarging in your hand. Now, instead of being just able to sit easily in the palm of your hand, now has grown to the size of your hand. And you hold it, feeling the weight increase somewhat magically. You feel that this thing has gotten stronger with its magic somehow.
I assume
Mechanically.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, mechanically. Mr. Pebbles just got an upgrade, which I will now assign to you. Where are you at? When you summon Mr. Pebbles, you still have, and it's changed a little bit for balance purposes, but now essentially, Mr. Pebbles can be summoned once per day. The recharge on the item itself will reset every dawn, but you can still use your bonus action to command it to move and attack. But Mr. Pebbles has grown stronger, faster, and larger. Mr. Pebbles is now a large construct.
Ooh.
He now has a strength score of 22, a con score of 20 with 80 HP. His hide is this rock hide that he has for skin is growing thicker. His AC is now 18. He still has his multi-attack, still has the slam that he uses, but it's definitely stronger now, hitting for 2d8 plus 4 instead of 1d10 as it was before. And you feel that Mr. Pebbles now has some of your affinity for the earth around him. Mr. Pebbles now has the ability to burrow underground.
Interesting.
With his movement, he can do half of his movement speed underground, not provoking any attacks of opportunity or anything of the such as he burrows underground, and he can attack from there as well.
Are you talking like earth elemental? So I don't mean to interrupt. Like he just melds, just walks down into the ground.
Essentially,
Like, oh, so good.
That is awesome.
Oh,
So you should now have control of Mr. Pebbles version 2.0.
Let me see. Yes, I do. Oh, Mr. Pebbles is going to mess up some people.
So just keep in mind, all of your items still require attunement. So you'll have to keep that in mind. These are very powerful implements of destruction. But, so the attunement is required. Tara, once again, I've changed yours just ever so slightly to having charges per day equal to your charisma modifier to now being once per day. That is just for balancing purposes, just because summoning a lot kind of got a little weird. But his AC and HP have gone up, so he has a lot more survivability than he did before, so that should balance it out a bit.
Oh, yeah, he has a lot more.
Yeah.
I think he can take a hit now. Because that dragon wiped him out in one.
Mm-hmm. You might be able to take a hit or two now, a little bit easy. And he definitely, averaging 13 per hit with a +6 to hit modifier helps out a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I like it. Awesome. Let's go. Let's go mess up some people. Get the track on.
So, with that, with all of your different experiences in these, little bit of time since you ventured off into your own rooms, Max comes about wanting to assist with identifying it, but any of the items that these weapons you reclaimed, but you decide that it's not necessary, as all of you seem to have taken back to your weapons pretty quickly, as it were. But that being said, as you await for the arrival of Leozen, we're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break.
All right.
Holy, I'm
All right. So, 5-minute break. When we get back, we will continue our game. So stick around. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back. So it is time to come back and have some more fun here. Just got a bunch of magic weapons, and things are about to get super, super interesting. We're gonna jump back into our game. Thank you for being here.
Having the fact that the come updates is gangster. Like,
Small terrible dragonborn. Thank you.
It's the little touches that I like.
So much for the host.
Like that's...
And again,
oh, I didn't fully update it too.
Le Petit Rose, thank you.
You know what I think would be
bits.
funny is if this was one of the I forget what the setting is, but the shadow run of wizards, the one that they released the Unearthed Arcana with like hacking spells and so on.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be a book; it'd be like your voicemail.
Well, man, see, it's just unfortunate that mystics are so OP because, man, psionics are such my jam. Like that's.
I know you're a bad person.
Oh, I'm so good though. That is to me like the ultimate fantasy character to play. You know what I mean?
All right, Havoc, whenever you are ready.
Oh, let's go.
Now your tome is fully updated. You see the title of the third verse.
Oh man.
Alrighty. So, as you're all sitting there talking amongst yourselves, kind of explaining what it is you just discovered with your respective abilities as well as such, those that do want to share. Ignalia,
No.
Yes.
you hear a knock on your door.
I will head over to the door and open it.
As you do so, you see Leo's and Erlenthar. As you'd expect him, except his hair is kind of frazzled and slicked back a bit, like he's hastily trying to make himself look presentable as he sees you opening the door and everything, and with a smile, he moves forward. He says, "It's so good to see you. I had heard that you were back by one of the guards, and that you had requested to speak to me. How did things go at the Sea of Moving Ice? Did you recover the Drakhorn?"
No, Master Leosin. The Drakhorn is not at that location, but we did learn quite a few important details. We did recover the member from the Arcane Brotherhood, as well as bring back a veritable library of knowledge from, well, it might sound strange, but some toads that inhabited an ancient, well, whatever he was, a large white dragon's cave.
With that, Leosin listens intently and says, a large white dragon, so you encountered the old White Death then?
We did, though he eluded us at the last minute.
Are you sure you want to call him the Old White Death, more like the Old White Chicken? Right?
Good one.
Right, guys?
In your room.
Yeah.
Did someone say chicken?
Yeah, please. Please have to be able to start kicking their doors open.
I'm starving.
So with that, Leosin nods to you, says, "Well, very well. Shall we meet with the rest of your party and let's discuss what happened? I'd very much like to know the details."
Agreed.
Time to debrief.
How about we grab a table with some food and drink? It's been a long voyage.
Something warm, please.
With that, he nods. He says, "Very well," and he kind of motions down the hall a few steps. Says, "If you want to gather everyone, there's a meeting room up here that we can use, and I'll have some servants bring us some food and wine and ale and such, so we'll all be adequately comfortable for our visit."
Excellent. Thank you, Leosin. And if you could do me a personal favor, would you please tell me or send any new information to me as it arrives about my father's whereabouts?
As you say that, our Leosin was already turning around to start heading down to where you see servants are kind of posted down the hallways for anybody that needs them. He stops. He says, Onthar, he's headed this way, actually. He departed about 3 days ago from that place that he was in, that I forget the name of. Red Larch. Yes, Red Larch is the name of it.
Never let them see you sweat havoc.
Leoson's old. That was in character.
Yes, it was. It's like, yes, that one place. There's so many cities on the Sword Coast. Yes, Red Larch. He's heading back this way. Should be here within the next few days, I think.
I visibly give a sigh of relief and say, "That's good news. Thank you. We'll be there momentarily."
And with a nod, he heads off, and you all gather each other up. Ignalia letting you know that Leosin had arrived, and you were going to a meeting hall, or a meeting room, rather. So you make your way down the hall to the now open room. You see servants are already dashing off in their respective directions to retrieve the goods that Leosin requested. As you move into... maybe, Forge, maybe. You move into this room. You see it's quite large, about 50 feet in its length, about 30 feet wide or so. There's this long table made of wood, very finely made, kind of this dark mahogany colored wood, sitting there with chairs all about and such. But Leosin ushers you in, sitting down, taking a seat over at the end of the table, and looks to you all. Says, in a few minutes we will have food and drink brought to us. But please, sit down, relax, and tell me, what is it that happened as you traveled north? And I'm assuming y'all want to summarize the events.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
we can. Yeah,
Let's just
verbally.
tell the story again.
Yeah.
Gonna be a montage.
Yeah. Recap montage. So basically, you tell them about the events of going with the Frost Skimmer, as well as Lestrusa, half face up to the north. Didn't take you long for you to be able to find this large iceberg, Oyaviggaton, that had the ice hunters on it. Spoke about your encounter with these very hostile ice hunters, but Leosin even comments on that the information he had gathered said that they were a skittish people, but not hostile, really. Kind of odd. But you go on to explain why they were captors, essentially slaves to
Arauthator.
Yes.
Right. I feel like there should be an N in there.
Ugh. Okay. Sorry. I had a huge dry throat moment there. So yeah, you talk about Arauthator and getting the help from the Bone Carver, as well as moving on and venturing through, finding the ice toads, a very inquisitive and strange bunch. These
Stupid ice
creatures,
toads.
not really humanoids, but yet had this vast intelligence, or at least one of them did. Talking about the information, and he asks about it and is a little bit dismayed by the fact that you didn't keep much, if any, of it with you, and instead let Maccath take it with her to the Arcane Brotherhood, to the Luskan Tower. But you continue on talking about your adventures through it, fighting off the trolls and kobolds and such, and finding the dead giants, as well as your ultimate confrontation with Arauthator himself and the harrowing battle you went through in that, but ultimately coming out successful as you forced him to flee, not able to slay this dragon. He definitely seemed to be of the mind of self-preservation versus a fight to the death. Probably why he's lived so long.
He's scared.
But with that, with the recap events going through, you see Leosin at this point has pulled out a notebook and is writing down important details and such as you recount everything. But as you finish and everything, he finished scribbling for a few moments and then closes the book and sighs. He says, it's always a story whenever you venture somewhere. This information is very critical, though. I will have to start informing members of the council about it. I think that in light of this, of not being able to retrieve the Drakhorn, unfortunately, and knowing that it's more than likely already in the cult's hands and spirited off somewhere probably out of our reach, honestly, if they've had this much time to prepare. They'll need to know, and think that another council may be called soon. Of course, I will let you know you have to be there. They will want to hear your recounting of things, as well as the reactions to them. I'm sure will be something to witness firsthand.
Do make sure to find Maccath and get her in attendance. I don't know much about the Brotherhood, but they also sound like they could be of use.
With that, Leosin chuckles a bit. He says, the Brotherhood is an interesting organization. They are very powerful in their own rights. They essentially collect and have any person seeking knowledge of the arcane among their order. He kind of looks at you a bit side-eyed. Anthar doesn't particularly enjoy them, from what I've been told. They have been known to keep less savory mages among their ranks as well, that he doesn't agree should be learning from them, but they're, you gotta think, an equal opportunity organization, I suppose. They offer their knowledge to anyone that is able to seek it. But that being said, if what Maccath said is true, from what you relayed to me, if they would be willing to join this fight, then that is an asset we can not afford to lose. That he nods a few times, says, yes, I think I will be reaching out to them shortly. I did hear about someone asking to use one of the teleportation gates here in the palace. I did not realize that it was Kath that was doing so.
She had mentioned something of the sort.
The much of the information that she took back to the Brotherhood was theirs originally. The White Death had raided the Luskin Tower. I think if nothing else, that should be garner them to our plight.
With that, Leo's and nods, and you see that kind of calculating look that you see from the Harpers now that you've been around several of them a few times, that's weighing, pros and cons with it, and he nods, says, yes, that would be a very good bargaining point, I think, for swaying their opinion to join this cause. I think that ultimately what you did in saving Maccath may have benefits that we didn't first perceive.
Hopefully, those friendships will stand the test and trials of what's to come. I fear if we don't find this Drakhorn soon, we'll be fighting a veritable army of dragons.
With that, he nods. He says, yes, our reports, unfortunately, from the Well of Dragons, we've sent scouts out there that keep clear distance away from the volcano itself, but over the last week or so, there have been many. He kind of sighs a bit. You see his expression has gone from the kind of cool center to be a little bit filled with despair across his face. He says, there are almost incalculable amounts of dragons seem to have heeded this call from the Draghorn and have now begun guarding and patrolling around the Well of Dragon itself. We dare not send another party in there as we did before, but we do have scouts scouting it out every once in a while from a safe distance and reporting back to us. Not much has changed, but it does seem that dragons are indeed heeding their call.
It seems then that that's where their journey takes us next.
With that, Leosin looks up at you and kind of raises an eyebrow and says, eventually, my friends, but I would dare not send you or advise for you to go there now. It's, as I said before, there are possibly hundreds of dragons. Not young ones, not wormling, no. Dragons, ancient. One's extremely huge, gargantuan in size. These ancient worms have come out of their hiding places throughout the world and have joined the cause as well. It is not somewhere that can be gone without a force equivalent of that. Unfortunately, as of right now, we simply do not have it.
We need to get it fast, it sounds like.
As you say that, Tara Leosin nods to you. He says, I agree completely. Unless you have any more news for me, I think that it's best I start working on getting the information out and working to reconvene the council for another meeting sooner rather than later. I think that it's best if we expedite this process as quickly as possible.
Agreed. We need to come to a consensus on how to stop this threat before it grows any larger.
With that, Leosin nods. He says, yes, I agree. He starts to stand back up, collecting his notebook and putting it back in his jacket, and he starts to nod his head in farewell to you all, and he stops. He says, oh, yes, some recent events have occurred in the days that you've been gone. Hopefully nothing that will affect us, but the power structure of the council has changed a bit. You see, Lord Neverember was the Open Lord of Waterdeep, as well as the Lord of Neverwinter itself and was leading the council, the Lord's Alliance of the council. Well, due to some events that happened, I fortunately have not gotten all of the details, which you all understand to be kind of odd. The Harpers are the ones that know everything.
Right.
But with that, he says, Lord Neverember has been ousted as the Open Lord of Waterdeep, and he has been replaced. One Laeral Silverhand is now the Open Lord of Waterdeep. Everybody has heard stories about Laeral Silverhand. She is well known
She was at
across
the
there.
meeting, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
She was in there.
Yeah,
She
I
was kind of
remember
sitting on Lord Neverember's right hand, kind of second in the Lord's Alliance.
We talked to her.
Yes. And once again, you've heard stories and your memories kind of recall. You know that she is a very special being. She is one that is counts herself as a child of the gods. Notably, Mistra. She is the daughter of Mistra.
Oh, good.
Extremely powerful
demigod.
spellcrafter.
Can I insight check Leosin just to make sure he's not holding anything back?
Sure.
Seems on the level.
As you look at him, you see that he's. You get a look on his face like he's thinking about saying something or not, and as he sees you kind of eyeing him, he looks at you and kind of shrugs. He says, "There has been one other addition to the council as of late. A new faction seems to have wanted to join, and it's." He kind of sighs. It's somewhat of a mystery. He kind of thinks for a moment. The council is assembled of lords, kings of their own realms all across the Sword Coast. Dwarf kings of mountains, King Melandark of the Misty Forest, very high-ranking individual. There is a woman that has been added to the council, whose advice Laeral Silverhand seems to covet among and above others. Her name is Elia.
I know her too.
Do we? Or just you?
You will all remember
Yeah,
a long time ago, back when you first ventured
not
into
that long ago
Waterdeep.
for me. Jamalia.
You met some people in the Yawning Portal. Leosin had introduced you to his faction leader, the leader of the Harpers, one Ramalia Havendream. But also there was another woman in that presence. One that radiated just perfection of beauty and such around you, and Max seemed a bit unsettled by her. But you remember that Elia was her name.
Oh yeah, I just couldn't see a face.
Yeah.
But with that, Leosin says, as far as current events, that's about the major changes and such. There have been talks, unfortunately, and reports of more dragon attacks all across the Sword Coast. It seems that raiding parties are going out, some in more concentrated areas. He kind of points off, kind of motioning off to the east. He says, in the Misty Forest especially, there has been dragon attacks here where they're raiding villages, and he kind of sighs. He says they're killing everyone in these villages, down to the last child. It's different than some of the others where they simply seek to loot and pillage and take out anyone that stands in their way, but it's different in the Misty Forest. It seems to be targeted for some reason. But with that, he sighs. He says, enough of the dreadful. We will speak more of it at the next council session. Once we have it planned, I imagine we'll be able to convene another one within a week or so, 10-day, I'm sure. We'll be able to get everyone back into the palace or into the Waterdeep proper. I know that a few of the factions have been wandering around the area, but staying nearby enough that if another council session was called, we would be able to all meet very quickly. So I would request that you remain in Waterdeep, or at least nearby, within the next few days, so that we'll be able to call on you when the time comes for another council.
We'll do just that. I think the consensus needs to be made before any actions are taken.
I would agree with that.
And with
We
that,
need allies. We need everyone on the same page.
With that, Leosin agrees. He says that you will need the cooperation of everyone to combat the force that is being assembled against us, unfortunately. But we'll worry about that at the council. Once again, stay within calling distance. Of course, if you do venture outside, we can use sending spells to reach out to you and let you know that the council is being convened. But if you have any questions, I'm here for the foreseeable future, he says with a bit of a chuckle. Ramalia has kept me on task with gathering and sorting information, and it's pretty much all I do day and night now. But if you have anything you need of us, just please let me know, and I will do my best to accommodate you as I can.
How far is the Misty Wood from here?
Well, if we flip back over to this map, you can see.
Oh,
So we're on Waterdeep here.
Not terribly far. You know that you're in Waterdeep here, and the Misty Wood is part of the High Forest over here.
Okay. Yep.
Welcome back, Steve. So, Leosin has told you about these current events going on with Lord Neverember being ousted and the council having a new leader in Laral, but hopefully won't be anything to set anything back. But with that, Leosin bids you adieu from the room to head back to his work and such, and look to start reassembling this council for another session that he definitely wants you to be a part of. But he did say that you'll have a few days to yourself at the very least. So with that, you're all able to talk amongst yourselves and figure out what it is you want to do.
would now be a good time? Ignalia?
To decide on our plan of action?
No, to continue our conversation.
I'm gonna grunt and I'm gonna just kind of wave for whoever's attending to bring more beer.
Yeah, the servants on hand see you motioning to the ale and such, and they nod and take off out of the room to get more.
I don't like to talk about it very much.
Oh,
I never knew my parents. I was found by the Order, years ago, sometime fairly shortly after my birth. There was a ominous event that left the village completely, scarred, turned to ash. It was his order that found me and brought me back. So I've always kind of spent my, my time learning from him. I know that on that day, something I can't explain happened, because for some reason I alone was spared from that fire. So I have a father above, as I would put it, and whatever it is that dwells within me has always been something that Leo or Anthar has taught me to control.
you've done so admirably to this point. I just with as much unknown as exists right now, that frightened me. And after everything that we've been through, wanted to make sure that you were okay, I guess.
Well, I appreciate that. It's just when I had that normally under, tight control, it was just there at the end that I felt it slipping through the cracks, and, well, after the dam broke, it was just but a moment later, but I found myself standing again.
Just that, too. You seem to be somewhat different since.
Well, it's nothing if not eye-opening and, well, I'd be lying if I didn't say a little bit concerning.
Well, we've all got your back. Needed to make sure that this wasn't going to cause you to not be able to have ours as you have so valiantly.
No, you will always have my blade. I would, well, there's a reason that I would rather stick to the front line than, anyone else. Though I can't really seem to keep Stone Skull away from it.
He doesn't seem to mind, do you, big fella?
Sometimes, but no.
Imagine you just face down in the tankard too. Just
he's like kind of looks up like, what? Yeah, sure, yeah. What you
Right.
said just keeps drinking.
Well, it's good that we get this chance of respite. If the dragons are accumulating like they say, it's only going to be a matter of time before they act.
Well, I don't know about you, but it's awful to say, but I think I'm getting excited.
Anytime there's a new chapter to close or an old chapter to close and a new one to open, there's a level of excitement, to be sure. But
Yeah, there's something clarifying, something very freeing about being in the midst of, well, a conflict that you're just not sure what side you'll end up on at the end.
I see how much. Keep reflecting on how much good we've done so far, and how much more of the road there still is to go.
I didn't think you minded roads ever since you got your wings.
Yeah. And the wings have given me a point of perspective too. And we've all grown since we've started this. We've all changed. I mean, look at us. If just a few scant months ago, none of us would have imagined we would be here doing what we're doing.
Yeah, a few scant months ago, I was reprimanding a small contingent of men, for being too lazy on guard duty.
And here we are. It's amazing. When we decided, we made a choice. I'm going to see it to the end.
To the end. And I will hold up my drink.
Mine as well.
I'm going to mutter under my breath, I should be nicer to that guy at the gate.
All right. So, with this recollection and insight into Ignalia, you're all sitting around, kind of relaxing a bit here in the very lavish accommodations you've been provided for your service to the realms here. You see a few more servants coming in with refills for all of your wine and ale and such that you're drinking, and you see a man dressed a little bit more finer, or a little bit finer than the others, walk in, and he has a platter in his hand that in both of his hands that he holds out that has like this velvet pillow onto it. And he walks over towards the group of you and kind of with a small bow, he says, A letter has arrived for you.
Kind of look at the rest of the group and then pick up the letter and hand it to Max. I'm tired of talking.
I'll take a talon and just slide it across the paper to open it up.
1 second, finishing writing it. 1 second. Y'all don't realize how crunched I was on prep.
Magic Leosin writing it on a silver platter.
I had to scrap all of my stuff for tomorrow and had to rewrite all of it. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, kind of know it. All right, so Maximilian, as you open this up, you see in this kind of curving, flowing script, but has a little bit of like inconsistencies where like the pen that was used to write it wobbled or something like that. So there's jagged edges to some of the text. But this letter is scrawled before you with this kind of intricate message. And since you'll see, drawing yourself down to the bottom of it, you'll see who it's written by. I'll go ahead and read it this time. Hello! I hope you've been well. Well, I know you've been well. Nasty sorts that White Death was. Good for you for returning unscathed. Did you enjoy my gifts? Of course you did. You're welcome. I'm not even going to request payment for those. See them as gifts in your fight against this nasty business with the dragon worshippers. But concerning payments, I was saddened to learn of the arrival of Varum, with his head still attached. I do hope you haven't forgotten our deal, Well, I'm in no rush. I'm sure you wouldn't break the bargain. That being said, it is time to pay back for the concoctions I so willingly gave you some time ago. There is a man. He visits the South Gate every day from sunup to sundown outside Waterdeep. Talk to him. He needs help. Help him. He's a friend of mine. Take care of his needs, and we will call it even. Signed, Vlagan.
Wait. What were we supposed to do?
We're supposed to
To
kill the dwarf and give him his head.
Oh. It was kill a worm speaker. It didn't have to be him.
No, he just said he wanted the head of a worm speaker.
Oh.
And I think that was my deal specifically.
Yeah.
okay,
Um.
we'll get him another one.
Imagine
There'll be
reading
plenty
that
where
out.
we're going.
We just have to make sure to bring one back.
Yeah, just remember.
Well, we were in search of direction. The council doesn't convene for a few days. Would imagine that would give us plenty of time to seek this man out and assist.
I would agree.
Tara shrugs. I don't know this guy anything, but I'll get bored if we don't do something.
Then think of it this way: I owe him something, and I'm a man who keeps his debts.
Wait, so if I help you, does that mean you owe me?
Sure.
Awesome.
I'll help out, but I'm gonna really need that head when the time comes.
Make sure you get it.
Giggity.
I'm sure that
Get out of here, Quagmire. Is the wait, who brought the message?
Just a finely dressed, seems to be another servant.
Okay. Do you know where the sender of this letter is right now?
With that, he looks at you and kind of squints his eyes a bit confused. He says, no, my friends, I do not. This was brought to me at my desk, said to be delivered to you at once.
Alright. Never mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a desk?
With that, he nods. Says, "Yes, I have a desk. I am the head servant here in the palace. I only attend to most times managing the other servants here, but this was high importance, as it seemed, as it was addressed to you, ones that are our special guests here in the palace."
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you out.
With that, he waves his hand. No offense taken at all. I welcome you here, and I hope that you do enjoy your stay in the rooms that we have painstakingly prepared for you, and will continue to do so as long as you are here.
Kind of nod and thank him and dismiss him. He'll get back to his duties.
With that, he nods and heads out of the room.
I'd offer him a tip, but no one seems to ever accept them anymore.
Our money's no good here. What time of day is it? Just out of curiosity.
It's after lunch, so 2 or 3 o'clock.
Shall we make it to the south gate?
Yeah, we shall. And I grab a piece of paper and I just start writing a quick note on it, which just says, like, I haven't forgotten. I won't take an innocent man, but there's plenty left. And I just fold that up with the intent of dropping it by Blagan's shop at some point.
Okay. All right. So, what's y'all's plan?
Scoping out the gate, it sounds like.
Yeah, south gate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as you all get up, the servants begin clearing the tables and such, and you kind of make your intent know that you're going to be heading back out into the city, and one of the servants offers to escort you back to the castle, because you know that it's a veritable maze back through it. But with that, you're led through the winding passageways back out towards the stable yard once again. Anything you would like to retrieve or stop and do, or are you just heading straight down the south gate?
I am loading my blade with spells.
Okay.
I I can't get over the mental image of our group, like just a picture of our crew, just
We
strolling
are
down the street.
very conspicuous.
You do perform a striking image as a party of 2 dragonborn, a Genesai, gigantic Goliath of a man, and a woman wearing a plate bear, bright red hair, and then a pet bear.
Well, what I like about that image is, like, they're not that weird, and then I have flaming wings, and you're like, okay, yeah, they're pretty weird.
There's one normal one in the group. It looks like, oh, never mind, she's on fire and not bothered by it at all. Okay. All right. So as you are you retrieving? I'm assuming you're retrieving the bear stone skull.
Yeah.
Okay.
I helped him to put the saddle on.
Yeah, does the saddle actually fit the bear? I guess
It
I
is a
should have
very
asked.
large saddle.
Okay.
Yeah,
a
it's
magic item.
even with the extra girth of the bear, being very rounded out and stuff. You're able to somewhat uncomfortably get it fitting onto the bear. It kind of straps down into its fur, and it's a little annoyed by it, but ultimately you're able to get the saddle on.
Okay.
I think he ate too many rations while we were gone. He's getting
You gotta
quite
get rid of the
rotund.
jerky for a bit. No hibernating yet, buddy.
Y'all keep freaking cramming them down his throat, so
It keeps him happy, okay?
We had to make room for loot.
I eat because I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy because I eat.
Uh-huh.
Fat bastard bear. All right. So you
It's
set
like
off
that,
with your...
but happy and smite for me.
Yeah. So with this motley crew of adventurers, y'all set off heading down to the southeast. You know that they're just beyond the south ward. Outside of it, there's a series of gates. One very large one to the outcropping, and a smaller one there. You're not sure which one. So you head down. You see that there are still kind of stalls and such set off to the southeast of the city, outside the first set of gates. You don't see anybody that seems to be seeking help or anything like that. As you move through here, it seems everybody's either shopping or hawking wares or things of that nature. So you continue on. moving about the quarter mile or so it takes to get to the outer gate. You move through it, you see there's a good amount of city watch here, not to be confused with the city guards, whereas the watch watches the walls, the guard the city. You see they're patrolling and such, and still a kind of considerable amount of people are out of the watch patrolling these walls and such. You see a lot of scouts and such that are setting about, message runners and things like that. If an attack came in, you seem to get the gist that Waterdeep would be pretty well prepared, regardless of what kind of attacks set upon it. But that being said, I gotta move y'all down here to Waterdeep so you see stuff. You make your way out of the gate. Looking around, you see people traveling in to and from the city itself. Everybody give me a perception check.
Oh, God. First roll of the night.
We all saw that coming for me, so. Oh.
Okay. One end of the spectrum on both ends. Okay, so as you're all moving around, you see, like I said, a lot of people. 50, 60 people in your immediate view distance before the road continues off above these hills and kind of the plateau that Waterdeep is built beside. But as you're looking around, Max and Rogar, you see, like I said, lots of people and such. They all seem to be kind of moving back and forth. But you both catch the eye of a man, and he seems to be looking around, looking a bit lost. And you see him looking over towards some people carrying swords and such, and he wanders over to them, and you see him speaking to them, and they kind of just, wave him off, essentially, and he kind of looks a little bit downtrodden, but walks back over to the side of the road out of the way of everybody and continues looking around.
I want to go towards it in his direction.
So as you start moving forward, Max, walking kind of deliberately in his direction off to the side of the road, mostly, to start pushing through some of the people and such that are going in the opposite direction as you're moving away from Waterdeep and they're going towards it. But as you're moving forward, in your kind of hulking gold dragonborn form, the man catches sight of you, and he looks at you, and he kind of vanishes a bit the side of you, but then looks you up and down and sees you walking towards him, so he starts walking forward, and as you meet up to him, he looks at you and says, excuse me, yes, I was wondering if I might bother you. He kind of looks and sees the rest of you starting to join up with Max. I take it you were adventurers, yes?
We are.
Sometimes.
With that, he nods. He starts to kind of dry wash his hands. He says, I have a favor to ask of you. If you are busy, of course.
We're never busy for a friend of Vragan.
With that, he thanks Vragan. Not sure who that is, but if it gets you to speak with me and hear me out, then by all means. I'm just a farmer and can't really handle the situation myself, but there's a pack of wolves that has been attacking my cattle, and I can't dispatch these animals myself. Could you please help me with this?
Of course.
With that, he nods, his eyes lighting up a bit. He says, I have to be honest with you. I don't have much. Me and my wife, we just make it by every year, but...
kind of put my hand out and stop him. Say, it would be our pleasure to help you. Friend. And just kind of leave an open question, looking for his name.
With that, he smiles very widely as you say that, and he holds out his hand, kind of wiping the sweat off of it, such as he seems to be kind of nervous talking to you all, but he holds it out. He says, my name's Hab Grisby.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Hab. We are doing our best to help everyone we can. We'll be glad to assist you.
With that, he nods. He says, that's extremely generous of you. As I said, I don't have much, but I'd be happy to offer you, dried meats and such that you could use on your travels and things. My wife Hilda, makes a very tasty blueberry crumple top pie. I'll have her make one for you.
That would be delightful.
With that, he nods. He says, "Excellent, awesome. So, if you don't mind, I would like this to be taken care of as quickly as possible. If we leave now, my farm's not too far away. I can lead you there, and we could have dinner and such, and I'll let you know what's going on, and should work out well that way, right?"
Absolutely. How far is your farm from here?
With that, he says, "Oh, it's just a few miles up the road, over some woods and such. It's where we grow our crops and all of that. It's not too far away. It take about an hour."
Well, lead the way, friend. We shall follow.
All right, everybody on board with this?
Yes.
Couple wolves.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Knock out.
Sounds kind of creepy, Stone Skull, but I guess we can go.
No, now we're just gonna have a pack of wolves to go along with our bear.
This wasn't my first choice for the night, but I guess wolves are suffice.
We'll let you stay inside, and you can enjoy the blueberry crumble and your tankard,
Ooh.
and we'll handle the
Blueberry
wolves.
crumble. He starts looking for pie. Like, where?
Stone Skull, I'm disappointed. You should know the value in a good wolf skin pelt.
Stone Skull saying that. Hab pipes up again. "Yeah, my wife Hilda, she makes the best one you'll find this side of the Sword Coast. I promise you, if you eat it, you'll never want another one again. From anyone
Good.
else."
While you're enjoying your pie, you can tell Ferris Hilda all about how you got your sword.
Ah, yes, that's true. I didn't think about that. Perhaps that's the best course. Yeah, let's go. Let's do that.
All right.
I'll make a persuasion check if I have to.
You're gonna tell him that. So with that, you all start following this man that you've been seemingly unbeknownst to him, instructed to help. But Mr. Grisby seems very happy. He's super excited that you're going to help him. As you travel, he goes on and on about how it's so difficult to find good people in this area that are willing to lend someone a hand. Being secluded from the city, he doesn't really have any neighbors to help him fend off the wolves. While on the journey, he tells you more about his wife Hilda and how they met at a midsummer fair when they were young. They were both contestants in a cow milking contest. Hilda took first place and Hab second. He tells you, kind of leaning over with a grin, she really knew how to pull those udders, if you know what I mean.
Oh my god.
I'm imagining him talking to Ignalia. It's so good.
That's quite a delightful story. Irony, what do you think of that? And then I hold up this shield for the farmer to talk to.
Irony's like,
That's so good. Like right up next to you, just talking to. She's like, "Yeah, there you go."
He
on.
holds
Talk
up
to the
this
shield.
magical talking shield up to poor Mr. Grigsby. He says, "Oh, please, no, go on about the udders. That sounds fascinating." And his voice kind of directs back towards Ignalia. "What are udders?"
They're like... Oh, no.
Hinges. They're like hinges.
I want to hear Stone Skull's explanation on what
So-
others are.
So, Irony, you remember when we took you off the hinges?
Yeah, that was fun.
Something like that. It's complicated.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Grigsby can tell me some more about it. How are you, Mr. You see Mr. Grigsby is pale-faced. Just completely like, what the hell is going on? As he's recoiled back a bit away from the shield. He stopped walking. He's just staring at it. He's like, is that shield talking?
I walk by Grigsby and kind of give him a little elbow to the back and say, "Don't forget you asked for this."
With that, he just looks and says, y'all are a strange bunch, but I'm sure I've heard stories about adventurers." So he just kind of shakes his head and dry washes his hands again and just starts walking again, trying to catch up with the group.
Imagine
Goes up
Stone Skull going on one side and talk to him. I'll just slide up on the other and said, "It's not an it, it's a he, and his name's Irony, apparently. And just like continue walking forward.
You see, Max, you missed it. He sat here and told us this whole story of who he was, and I just said, then your name's Irony, and he said yes, so now he's named Irony. I don't know.
I mean, it is fitting.
I'm not sure how y'all got that person to be a really small round shield.
He might have been a person, but he's been a door than a shield for a little while now.
Up at
How
the
old
front,
are
I'm
you,
saying
Irony?
to Hab, no, he's harmless. Here, hit him with your fist. He'll like it.
As you say, like I said, Hab is not a young man. This man's probably encroaching in his 70s, late 60s or so, or actually he's in his 70s. He's a tall, kind of thin farmer, a human, wrinkled skin and this shoulder-length kind of cotton white hair. He's wearing these leather pants as well as a white tunic on him. A very simple man that you're able to gather from his apparel and the way he talks and how he describes things and such. And he kind of just waves his hands off. He says, maybe 20 years ago, I'd be more inclined to strike your friend there, but I think today I'll pass. Irony, was it? Yes, it was. That's my name. He says, nice to meet you. With that, he turns around and kind of moves onto the other side of the group away from the shield.
I look back at Max with a look of victory on my face.
So, as you continue on, Hab starts up conversation with Max now. Starts talking about a bit more, and he says, he tells you that him and Hilda were never blessed with a child, but they made their love work in the direst of times. Kind of looks over at Max, says, that's really all you need. Love. Make everything work. You continue on further. Mr. Grigsby continues talking about how his cattle are his pride and joy. He's had many a midsummer fair prize winner come out of his herd, but a couple of years ago, the attacks started. Back then, he lost maybe a cow a year. This year, he's lost 3 so far, and he just can't stand to lose any more, otherwise he won't be able to make it through the winter. But he continues babbling about this and that, and until finally you arrive off of an offshoot of the road that he led you down, off of the coastway, or the tradeway rather, that you've been continuing down. And you see this farmhouse, kind of quaint up in the distance. As you do so, you see a short, round in the waist, yet thin in the hips woman, wearing this flower, dusty apron, standing by the road. And as you all approach, Grigsby kind of leans over to you and the group and says, there she is. That's my Hilda. And with that, he kind of moves forward, kind of moving pretty spryly for an old man. You'd think he might be no older than like 30 years old by the way he moves, but he runs up to Hilda and gives her a little peck on the cheek and then turns around waiting for the rest of you to join him.
I say it loud enough for her to hear. Master Grigsby, she is every bit as stunning as you said on our trek over here.
As you say that, this woman looks you up and down, and you see her cheeks kind of rose over a little bit. She's just as old as Hab is, below her shoulder length, just pure white hair, looking at you, and she kind of blushes and nods to you and says, Hab's been telling his stories again, I guess, has he? Well, it's nice of you to join us here. I assume you're here to take care of our little wolf problem.
Are they really little?
With that, Hab says, well, not too little. I saw one, and it was as big as I was, but... And he kind of looks over at the rest of you. Strong adventurers such as yourselves, I imagine you wouldn't have too much trouble.
Wait, how big is he?
He's like...
Don't tear his ass in the party.
No. He'd be a very large wolf there.
Oh, okay. That's not that bad.
Say, Hab's encroaching on 7 foot. He's a real tall drink of water.
Oh, all right.
We I kind of motioned back to Stone Skull and the bear, saying, well, I don't one look at this guy, and I'm sure they'll be leaving you alone. And I'm leave it kind of vague and ambiguous as to who I'm pointing to. Stone Skull or the bear.
With that, Hab kind of nods, and you hear Hilda speak up again. She says, I was beginning to worry, but I was just about to nix the whole fried chicken dinner, but I see you brought company, so nixing dinner is just out of the question now. And she kind of smiles at the party and says, you will join us for dinner, won't you? There's still time for a sunset picnic on the back porch if you'll join us.
Yeah, your husband has also offered your best blueberry crumble, and it's something that I think sealed the deal for us. It's kind of a wink and smile at her.
With that, you see her cheeks visibly rosing over again as she smiles. She says, oh, has he? Well, I'll have to be sure to fix one up. I think, she kind of eyes Stone Skull up and down. I think I'll make a few of them, actually. Need your friend here.
That would probably be for the best.
He does have quite an appetite.
So with that...
Don't forget about the bear.
You see them both kind of eyeing the bear, but it seems relatively tame, following Stone Skull around like a puppy, so they don't mind it too much. So you all follow them in. Like I said, a bit of a quaint homestead here. Oh, shit. Saw nothing.
I'm gonna help her make the pie.
That's not a euphemism, right?
I feel like we're about to be involved in the World of Warcraft Go Fetch.
It's a fetch quest.
Where is Mankirk?
So as you're moving forward, you see this modest-looking house over to your right, and obviously you'll be able to walk inside of it and see everything in it. That's why there's no dynamic lighting on this map. You see a barn off to the left as well, sitting by one of the smaller fields, and you see there's a large kind of fenced-in one back behind it, as well as a small pond off to the side where they obviously gather their water and such. But with that, Hab asks you to come on in, make yourselves at home, and kind of looks over and says, looking at the group and especially at Stone Skull, and says, hey, you want to refresh yourselves while we wait on dinner to be cooked? I have some homebrewed ale you're just going to love.
Well, I will definitely take some.
With that, with a kind of visible look of excitement, Hab says, very well. And with that, he directs you around the house to this back porch where there's a few chairs out there. And he says, I wasn't expecting so many people, so I only built one more chair, but I'm sure I could find some more or build some here in the next hour or so if need be.
Sure, Tara wouldn't mind sitting on the floor.
I'd rather sit on Mr. Pebbles. Where is he?
Oh, hell.
Right.
You
can
raise
contort
him from
into
the
any
bowels
other-
of the earth.
Just put him on his hands and knees and just sit on him.
Alright, so we can delete that. Then I can copy that. And now everybody can witness the majesty of Mr. Pebbles 2.0.
Oh, snap. Hold on, zooming in.
He's big now. I can just sit on his shoulder while he sits on the ground.
All right, so as this is all happening, you're all invited back to the back porch, finding seats and such. Hab being
He's
true to his
large
word.
now, too, isn't he?
Him and the beard, same size. It's so hard to break that accent right now. Okay, so let me to the back. There we go.
I got a platinum piece on Mr. Pebbles.
All right, so as you all move around to go sit down on the back porch, Hab tells you to make yourselves at home, and he goes into the house for a few minutes and comes back with a literal armful of all these mugs and brings them out, kind of trying not to slosh them, and hands one out to each of you. With that, he takes one and kind of raises it to you all, and here's to y'all for coming out in my time of need, and raises his glass and takes a big swig of it, of this kind of dark ale that he brought you.
I'll take a big sip. I want to try it first. Without being rude.
It's good. It's real good stuff. This is like...
Tara's just going to down hers.
You would know a lot
Like
better.
it tips
than
up,
me
and you're like,
for stuff.
blue.
This is some good, like, brewed up in the kitchen kind of stuff that's been sitting around for a few months as it brewed, and he obviously puts a lot of time into it. It's real good. But as you're sitting around all enjoying it and such, and you see him disappear after Tara downs hers, coming back outside with this just big pitcher that he has to carry with 2 hands, setting it down on the table outside with you. Just gonna, starts talking to you, asking your names and getting to know everybody a little bit better and such. And he kind of says, "We have a few hours of daylight left, but the wolves typically don't come out from wherever it is they're hiding." He kind of points off to the forest back behind the large field back behind you, wherever it is, around nightfall. So I figured if y'all were gonna do your work, make it easier if you just waited on him. So we have a few hours to kill and chit chat and such while Hilda makes dinner.
How many wolves are there? What, you just ask him questions, kind of about like which way do they come from, which way do they retreat, like where can we expect them?
With that, he tells you a few things. Still talking about the ale at first. Saying it's his own recipe. He's been perfecting it for nigh on 20 years now. As you ask him about the wolves, he says they're probably hiding out in the woods. He's not sure how big they are since they only show up at night. And, he's honest with you and looks a bit abashed by it because he kind of paints himself a bit as a coward. But he says he's never really explored back there in the woods, in fear that he would not be able to come home if he did so. As this is all happening, Hilda comes back out, and you're all able to. As she opens the door, you get the fragrance of cooking meat from the inside of the house, and she looks around the group and everything, kind of looking around at you and smile. And she looks over and points to Ignalia and says, "My dear, if you don't mind, I could use a little help in the kitchen if you aren't too busy."
Oh, absolutely, ma'am. I would love to repay some of your hospitality.
With that, she smiles and says, "Oh, my dear, by all means, if you're willing to come in here and listen to an old woman gossip, that's all I need."
You have my ears.
And with that, Ignalia disappears into the house with Hilda. And Hilda's a very friendly woman. She is very gracious in her hospitality. She doesn't even really have you helping too much. She asks you to grab a rolling pin here as she lays out the batter for the pies that she's making, and she just goes on and starts talking and everything. She starts telling you some of the local gossip of the farms around this area, and starts talking about some of the old ladies. She's like, "Oh yeah, that Hannah Old, she cheats on her pie making. She has someone else make the crust, unlike what I'm doing here." Goes through and kind of shows you what she's doing with the crust, rolling it out and then turning it up on the sides, and then using this clever piece of wood she's got to hold it in place so it sits there.
Well, it seems like you've got it all figured out.
With that, she looks at you and kind of giggles a bit. She says, "Honey, I've been doing this for a few years. I figure if I hadn't got it figured out by now, I never would." With that, she goes on a little bit more about some different gossip with some of the other women and everything. Talks about an Emma Carter, that she's a vixen. She just tries to catch the eye of any young man that walks by. Talks about a couple other people and everything. You just listen politely, and then she goes on and on, just giving her company.
I help her toast the pie crust up nicely.
Okay. She a little bit taken aback by it, but sees the convenience of it and rolls with it, has no issues with it. So as this is all going on, you're all sitting around talking to Hab outside, and Ignalia speaking with Hilda, and like I said, you all get a very familial feel from these two. They're very simple folk, the kind of you find anywhere on the Sword Coast, ones that make it by on their own, hands and feet, taking care of things, and kind of get a bit of an insight into the people that you're out protecting whenever you're out taking care of dragons or fighting against the cult. These are the kind of people that they're attacking and taking everything from, sometimes even their lives. But after about an hour or so has passed, it's getting into evening, the sun's getting ready to set. You see Hilda escorting Ignalia back out to the back porch, and she calls for Hab. And they disappear inside for a few minutes and acknowledge, the food was about done. You were surprised by the amount of food that they were cooking. And the rest of you were surprised as there's this rolling cart that you see Hab pushing outside to the back porch with it. And it's just covered with fried chicken, candied yams, creamed corn, wheat berry dinner rolls. You see 3 of those pies that was spoken about earlier. With that, Hilda claps her hands, looks at the rest of you and says, all right, well, let's eat. I mean, if I had delayed it a little bit more, it could have been.
Yeah, like, God, you're making me hungry right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I want a blueberry pie so bad.
I got apples, but oh damn, I want some fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Mm-hmm.
See, I had you're good.
No, go ahead.
I was saying I did breakfast for dinner, so I had like biscuits and stuff already for dinner. Like, that was so good too.
So as you're all sitting down, I mean, dinner is outstanding. It's fantastic. You have all this food, this fried chicken, the yams, the corn, and all that, plus this delicious homebrew ale from Am that he just keeps bringing out to you as you empty your mugs and such. Going around handing it out to you, anybody that says that they like it a lot. I imagine Tara does. He actually slips her a flask that has ale inside of it and kind of just motions for you to keep it, telling you to do so. And says, that'll be yours for whenever you need it. And as you all finish kind of your main course of these, the chicken and all that fun stuff, Hilda walks over and she takes out the pies and sets them on the table and cuts them up for you all, putting them out onto your plates and stuff. She says, it'll be the best pie you've ever had. I guarantee it. And as you eat it, you don't misbelieve her. It is amazing. It melts in your mouth. It's not hot. It's warm. It's just that gooey flavor of it just flowing through your mouth. The aroma of the blueberries just assaulting your nostrils as you take a bite. It's so good. As is all going on, Hilda's watching you all as you all kind of start talking about the food and praising it and such. It's obviously very good. Hilda with a smile says, kind of looking you over, and she kind of flattens her apron and looks at you all and says, it's nice to have company for a change. We hardly ever have any visitors. Several years ago, while I was out feeding the chickens, I heard music floating in the air. Shortly after, a young elf bard came walking down the road while playing his flute. I stopped pitching feed and just stood and listened. The music was beautiful. The bard saw me and came over to me and we started talking. Hilda stops and takes a drink of water and continues. He was such a nice man. He was getting close to sunset, so I asked him if he would join us for dinner. With that, she looks over at Hab. You remember that, Hab? And Hab, with a literal mouthful of chicken, swallows very quickly. So, oh yes, squirrely fella. Wore himself some fancy boots, though. With that, Hilda, kind of slaps him on the arm playfully and says, be nice. He wasn't squirrely at all. I think he was very sophisticated. And he looks over at Max and says, and rather handsome, too. She adds a quick smile and a wink towards Maximilian. With that, with a bit of a clearing of his throat, Hab says, he slept in the barn that night. He dabs his lips with a napkin. He said, must have left early because he was gone by the time I started my chores the next morning.
I looked at him. At any point did he say the word precisely?
With that, they look at each other and seem to be thinking and shake their heads. Hab answers, no, I don't recall him saying anything like that. He was nice enough fella, I suppose, but, squirrely still.
We've come across quite a bit of that.
What do you mean by squirrely?
And with that, Hab looks over at Tara, kind of tilting his head, and you see him looking back over as Hilda's leaning over to speak with Ignalia, kind of distract her for a moment, and he leans over. Like, he kept looking at Hilda with those barred eyes. I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. Oh, that's my wife,
You said he stayed in the barn?
With that, he nods. He says, "Yeah, stayed in the barn. Just left in the morning. Didn't even say goodbye to us. It was kind of sad, really. I mean, once again, we don't get many visitors out here, unfortunately."
How long ago was this?
That he said, "Thanks for a moment. 3 years ago or so."
The man I mentioned when we first met, Dragon, fits that description. We thought he's the one who sent us to you, asking us to help you.
With that, he says, well, I don't think his name was." He thinks for a moment. So I think he said it's Aaron was his name or something like that. I don't remember a Dragon, but he could have told us the wrong name, I suppose. Like I said, and he raises a finger and kind of waggles it squarely.
Would you mind if we saw where he stayed?
And with that, Hab kind of tilts his head and shakes. "I wouldn't mind at all if you want to. It's not much to look at. It's just a barn for the cattle to lay in at night if they want to. But by all means," kind of points off to the barn, over to the west of you from the house. "By all means, if you want to go in, by all means, go ahead."
Yeah, I'll go to stand up. So we'll be back in a second. And when I say we, I kind of nudge Rogar. Is he here? Steve? No.
Steve.
All right.
Yeah, I guess he stepped away again.
Well, he's coming with me. So.
Okay. All right, so both of y'all head over, and like I said, it's not a very large barn. Only about 10 feet tall, and everything has kind of a thatch roof to it. Wood walls and all that has, cattle gate doors up to the north here. And, no tea, but good ale. So you start moving in. You see that the floor is pretty much all covered in hay and such, but it seems pretty dry inside of here. Obviously well covered by the thatch roof in it.
I'll just Rogar poke around and see if you can see anything. And I'm going to cast Detect Magic. I guess I'll press it so it counts.
Okay. Rogar, are you here? Hello?
Guess.
He's unmuted now.
Yeah, he unmuted. Is your mic broken again? Rip the dream. If you can hear me, roll an investigation check. Nope. I hear noise.
Hello?
Static. Oh, there we
you
go.
go.
I can hear you. All right. So,
Oh, sorry, guys.
Max,
Clicked
as
on
you're
the
looking
screen.
around with your detect magic, you don't see anything arcane glowing around in the area. It seems to just be a barn, hay on the floor and such. A couple stalls off to your southeast. Rogar, as you're moving around, you kind of sift through some of the hay and such, and moving around, and you make your way down, kind of in between these stalls over here. And as you're looking down, you see kind of pinned in the backside of the swinging door for this stall seems to be a small piece of parchment.
Grab it and show it to Max.
I'm assuming it's like folded or whatever, or if there's writing on it, like just check it out.
All right. As you pull it out, you see, ignore the the blood on this, but you see a piece of parchment. Not being
Ignore the
conspicuous,
blood.
just
Excuse me. What now?
Ignore the blood splattered all over a corner
do
of
not
this.
have a parchment that was normal that I could write on. So,
Welcome to my house. Please ignore the blood pile.
but yeah, you see this parchment that has 5 lines of text written across it. He must say it. The serpent knows. Replace her eyes. Through bardic breath. The throne of bone.
Some weird erotica.
I'm going going to take the note and just kind of tuck it in her breast pocket. I mean, show it to Steve. You'll let him see it. And, it doesn't make any sense to you, does it?
No. Not even a little bit.
Well, let's finish dinner. Tackle this one thing at a time. I would imagine that these wolves probably aren't all they seem. I'm going to maintain the detect magic. I want to use it as we go back in for dinner.
Okay.
We go back inside and scan the people in the house.
All right. So as you make your way back with this note that you found inside the barn, once again, much like the barn, you see nothing arcane. Hab and Hilda seem much even reinforced now, just regular folk. You look inside their house, kind of glancing around. You see, odds and ends here and there, but nothing magical. Everything seems to be very mundane and simple.
Yeah, I'm going to just continue dinner and wait for a moment where either we can be together. I'll probably just hang on to it. You know what I mean?
Okay. So as you're all sitting around, kind of on the back porch, you all start to move in as the sun starts to start creeping lower and lower. It's starting to get very not super dark, but it's definitely getting darker with every minute that passes. And as you're all sitting around, you all hear howls coming from the woods, clearly from some type of wolf. And as this is happening, chorus kind of joins in with a few different voices. Hab kind of sighs and says, "There they are, menacing beasts."
You both stay here. Stay inside where it's safe. We'll take care of these. Or take care of them.
With that, Hab nods and says, "By all means, once again, I thank you for it. Just be careful out there, please. I'd very much not like to see any of you hurt."
Like kind of a genuine smile, so we'll be fine. And back shortly, hopefully.
And with that, they nod and wait for you all to exit the house and such, and then they shut the doors back behind them. You hear the sounds of not locks, but probably boards being kind of laid up against the doors. They had kind of told you that they bar themselves in at night just in case. Cattle or one thing, but they don't want to risk their own lives. But as you all exit the house and start making your way towards the north, you see this woods kind of laying about 50 feet or so away from you, where Mr. Grigsby had kind of posted out there. He says that he's found a few tracks and such. The last time he lost a head of cattle to him, he found tracks on the edge of the wolves as well as blood where it seemed like they had drug him through there. But he wasn't sure. Once again, he wasn't going to go in there to investigate.
Just so we're clear, he's under the impression wolves drug a cow into the woods?
Yeah.
He said really big wolves.
Hey, that would have to be a really big wolf. Fair enough. He doesn't have like miniature fucking like Shetland cattle, does he?
No. Even as you're moving out, you see over here to this pasture to the left, through the gates, you see a few cows already moving back down towards the barn itself, as the howls are still kind of ringing off in the distance to your north. They're not small by any stretch of the imagination.
I'll motion to the rest of the group. Stay near the fence, but stay quiet and stay down. Wait for them to expose themselves. We'll jump when we see a few. We need to be prepared to follow them, track them back to their den. They will be relying on you for that, Stone Skull.
Stone Skull kind of whistle back for the bear and follow slowly behind, just kind of keeping an eye out.
If they run, you give chase. We'll follow.
And he'll kind of nod.
Yeah. So we'll wait for the wolves to make their way out of the woods.
Okay. So as you're just kind of chilling and waiting for a little bit.
Yeah, staying low to the ground. You know,
Okay.
I imagine laying like belly down, just staying down to the earth.
Okay. So as you're looking around, keeping an eye out and such, you do hear the chorus of wolves happening every few minutes or so. And in between that, you do hear the sounds to your north of more cattle. It seems like the pasture, the pen that he's had here constructed, it leads off into the woods a little ways. But as you're sitting there listening, about 10 minutes pass and you don't see any sign of wolves, but then you're all struck by the sound of kind of wailing. And you're all able to clearly hear the sound of what could only be a cow in distress.
I'm kind of looking. Do we go?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Charging forward.
Full speed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as you all start taking off running, you travel a minute or so running through and kind of going around, slowing down a bit as you enter into the woods. Not densely populated, but there's definitely trees here and there that are slowing you down a bit. As you get closer, you hear the wailing sounds of this cow, and then they stop, and you hear low growls from up ahead of you. After about another 30 seconds or so, the light now is not quite completely faded, but it's very dark in here. Only those of you with dark vision are able to see stuff very well, as long with Tara having tremor sense through the ground. You're all able to see the kind of hunched form, somewhat low to the ground, what looks like a wolf staring with these golden eyes back towards you. And as you all kind of start crashing through the underbrush and such, it glances back and forth with the party, and you see it turn and start running off.
It starts running. You
Yep.
said. Say Stone Skull, go. I'll take, again, not being able to see super well, the drift globe, and heave it up into the air behind me and take off. Full sprint, following
Yep. And
behind the big form.
Yeah, I'll have the bear charge forward.
Okay. There we go. Couldn't see Stone Skull. All right, so as you all start charging forward, this wolf, very agile creatures, this. It takes off. A couple of you were able to keep pace with it, but you're not really gaining ground, even going as fast as you can. You travel for another few minutes, and it keeps dragging on. It keeps darting through, and you see it stopping occasionally to howl up very quickly, and then it takes off running again as you start getting closer. You're gaining ground on it, but it's very slow. After about 10 minutes of running through these woods and such, you start to see a clearing up ahead, and the wolf darts out into it. As it does so, you see at the edge of this clearing is this big rock formation. The wolf darts straight for it and into what appears to be a cave.
What a fool. Tara.
Yep.
Deck, sweetheart.
Well, yeah, let's go right at the cave. Let's go check this cave out.
Tara's
Yeah,
all
I mean-
excited now.
Right. Terra's Cave of Horrors 3.0.
Hopefully.
Oof.
Hopefully.
The stalactite of fright.
Ooh.
So as you all start moving forward, you see this cave opening is not super wide, only about 10 feet or so. And as you see this wolf disappearing into it, it just disappears in kind of the inky blackness before you. But you rush up to the mouth of the cave, and you see that it seems to narrow as it continues on in front of you. But you clearly saw the wolf running into this cave.
How tall is the cave opening?
It's about 10 feet tall.
Did Mr. Pebbles' height change?
He's a little taller, but he's able to get in. And y'all should be on the right map now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it.
Very reminiscent of what I've seen in the cave.
Darkness.
Um,
Y'all are down there.
Darkness, everybody. Darkness.
Charlie Murphy.
I don't think Mr. Pebbles or the bear will fit.
So as you're all beginning to move forward through this cave, even if it doesn't look like it, it's large enough for the large beast to get through.
Okay.
You all catch the scent of what smells like decay and mildew and the very sharp scent of wild animal. As you glance at the floor, those of you can see fragments of bone, lines of floor, and blood and hair cling to the sides of the walls. The original 20-foot opening or so quickly shrinks to about 10 feet wide. So you have to follow pretty close to single file for about 30 feet or so before the passage begins to widen.
Yeah, guess I'm taking point on this. So I'm riding on Mr. Pebbles' shoulders.
Okay.
And we are going slowly.
As you're able to feel the cavern opening up in front of you, up and to the left, you hear a low growl.
I'm going to growl back at it.
As Tara moves forward, obviously hearing the source of these growls and knowing from the tremor sense that there's at least 2 or 3 forms standing kind of stock still in front of her, she growls herself back towards it, and you hear the growl stop, and then you feel the figures moving away from you. And as they disappear further into the cavern, you all don't know what's waiting for you up there. But you know that you've sought out this problem, the behest of Mr. Grigsby, and that you're in a cave once again. But that's where we're going to end the session for the evening.
Son of a bitch.
I intimidated the wolves with my growl. I'm sorry, guys.
Right? Should have baited him. Should have whimpered.
None of us know how to whimper right now. We're too powerful.
Yeah, like, what is this? Versus this whimpering.
I know that it's not just wolves up there, because no way Havoc would be saying his ass.
I'm fully expecting all of these wolves to be like chaotic evil 15th level druids.
Yeah, right. Werewolves.
Okay, so y'all have moved out on this quest that unfortunately you had to partake in to pay back a favor that you were owed, or that was owed from you.
Max was owing, rather.
We had to
Thanks,
do what we had to
Max.
You ever meet someone so nice that you feel awkward?
I feel like those people are like trying to kill us.
Yeah, like I was only half joking when I said like, oh, I'm going to use the poison resistance set to force some tea.
Yeah, like I said, none of y'all feel sick or anything. It doesn't seem like it was poisoned.
So far. He hasn't
Natural
made us do
peril.
con rolls yet.
The natural paranoia of adventurers sets in.
Yep. Hey, we've been burned too many times. The doors bite us and shit. We're good. Well, we'll take our time.
Doors bit you, and then you have doors that talk to you.
Was that the?
All right, let's go end our stream here and have a quick chat and look at the upcoming stream schedule. Again, Giants is tomorrow. Thursday is Fate's game night at 10:30. I may do some Fallout 76 streaming. I'm not sure yet. I haven't quite settled on a yes or no on that. Replay on Friday with Stealing Dragons at 9 p.m. Entropy Sunday. Tyranny's back next week, Tuesday, and 76 officially launches on Wednesday. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Excuse me. Let's go say hi to Nerd Immersion. They're playing tonight. We're going to go over and raid Nerd Immersion. Go say hi to them. Spend some time with them. Get to enjoy them. They're fantastic people. I will see you guys tomorrow for Giants, 7:30 Eastern. New party, new game. Everything changes. I'll see you at 7:30. Have a good night, guys.